All right, welcome everyone. Please rise for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Councilmember Rye?
Here.
Councilmember Foreman?
Here.
Supervisor Albrecht?
Here.
Councilmember Istvan?
Present.
Councilmember Daniele?
Present.
All right, next up is the adoption of the agenda. I have two items for special consideration, a resignation and an appointment for my confidential secretary, and one for a discussion of resolution to amend the peddling soliciting permit requirements. I'll present both those in a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There's no public hearing. Next up is acceptance of minutes for the town regular meeting, January 18th, 2023, at 7 p.m. Presented as a motion to accept them. Can I have a second?
Second.
Carmine, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up is privilege of the floor for general town items. Anything you want to speak about the town, you may speak now. Come on, Ms. Anderson.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Anderson. I live at 29 Pritchard Court, and I'm the president of the Board of Managers of Fishkill Woods.
Can you just make the mic go down a little more, please?
Oh, sure. I'm
Thanks.
sorry. In May of 2022, the Town of Fishkill Planning Board gave final approval of the site plan for the Healy Hyundai dealership. As part of that approval, details were provided by the engineer for a significant retaining wall to be built as part of the project to allow for cars to be parked on the upper lot. This detail was for ready rock wall that clearly shows that it's to be 10 feet in height. What was constructed on the site clearly exceeds the height of the wall as approved by the planning board. It appears to be 14 or 15 feet in height. I haven't been out there, but if you start counting blocks, that's what it looks like. The detail for the 10-foot wall shows that backfilling of this wall at the base is to be 1 block in height. So there is no indication that the difference between the approved height and what is actually there is going to be made up of fill. You can find that detail on drawing CD3 in the approved package. The approved site plan also shows the elevations of the top parking lot to have a slope of the retaining wall from where the retaining wall is to the back of the lot to be a difference in elevation of 10 feet. When you look at it, it appears flat. So one would assume that this would only be possible if, in fact, the wall is higher than it was designed to be. And you can see that on the site profile, CD5. I'm asking that you, as the town council, to ensure that this issue and any other variations from the application of the site plan be thoroughly investigated by the building department and CPL, the town's engineering firm. This project is clearly visible from the offices of the building department. It is unclear to me and those in my community how this could have happened. The staff didn't have to get out of their chairs to see it. Unfortunately, this is just another example of the lack of oversight by the building department that is meant to ensure that the owners and builders build what is approved, not what they want. In July of 2019, when I was on the planning board, Comfort Suites project had come before the planning board to amend their site plan. The owner had overbuilt the hotel. It was larger than what was approved by the planning board. During the public hearing, community members, and I have blasted, because that's what they did, the planning board for letting this happen. It's not the responsibility of the planning board nor the public to be the watchdog for projects in the town of Fishkill. It's the responsibility of the building department. Timely and thorough inspections of projects must become the priority of this department to ensure that what is built is what's approved. Until such time as the issue, as we call it, the Great Wall of Healy, we respectfully requesting that further work be stopped and the site be inspected by the building department and the town engineer to ensure what is being done is what's been approved. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I truly can't believe I'm here again. You need my name and address again?
Yes,
Is that okay? Melissa Rodriguez, 4 Magnolia Drive, Wappingers Falls. We've been being told as recently as 3 hours ago on the phone from John Foreman that the town attorney is on top of our fence issue. I've been being told this since October. How long is on top of acceptable? Because October is not for my family. The pool permit is separate from the fence permit. They were applied for separately, they were obtained separately, they are two separate permits. The only reason my pool permit is still open is so that the town can hold it vindictively over our head, so that our family cannot use our pool when spring could very easily be a month and a half away when you have a pool heater. And we're being told, well, you can't get in that pool because we haven't closed the permit. There are boxes that you check to close off a pool permit. I was told to my face by Joel Petrus that my pool checked all of those boxes, up until the town became frustrated with my fence. And then it's, we can't close your pool permit because we're not closing your fence permit. My pool is fully enclosed by a fence. Whether or not the town likes the location of the fence really has nothing to do with it. It has self-closing gates, self-latching gates, self-locking gates. It has a pool alarm, and all of the electricity has been signed off of and approved. So I ask, why is my pool permit sitting open? Guess I'm actually not going to give an answer to that. It's literally vindictive. I'm done. I'm done. There's no other reason. If the town can't give me or my family a reason, a legal and enforceable reason that my permits are not being closed in a timely manner, and that I'm spending my time here, and that my husband is spending every single day off he has knocking on that glass window asking to speak to a man who doesn't even have enough courtesy to speak to him, then our family's going to hire an attorney, and then you'll hear that I'm speaking to my attorney while you speak to your attorney, because we're getting nowhere, respectfully.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Okay, that's going to be the end of the public comment for general town items. So we're going to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter. I'm going to present a motion to leave the regular order of business and go into executive session. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bryan, Rye, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so we're going to go into executive session for about 15, 20 minutes. Thank you. Executive session. All right, welcome back, everybody. We're back from executive session. I have no supervisor comments or announcements. We're going to go into liaison member reports. I'll start with Councilman Rye.
All right. On the 7th, I believe I have that. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I do. The 7th of this month, Virgil is going to be, Capillary, our Veterans Advisor, is going to be holding a veterans meeting here at Town Hall in this room at 5 o'clock. So he's got a good number of veterans that will be coming, and we look forward to him starting off what will be the first veterans meeting for the Town of Fishkill of the year. And he'll be coming to us after that meeting and giving us an update. Had a conversation recently with Senator Robinson and with A.J. Bepan. This is certainly not my liaison area, but we want to, they have agreed to come and talk to the fire districts in March. We'll be working on those dates. Had a conversation with the highway. They are doing something that's a rather cost-saving move. There are a lot of signs out there, street signs, names of streets that are faded. And as opposed to replacing them, they have got stickers that are going on the street signs, both sides, that are reflective, and they're green, and they're just very cost savings, and they dress them up and they make them look brand new. They've done 30 of those. They've got about 40 to 50 left to do, and I think that's a really good thing, dressing up the signs. Anyway, I'd like to also, just if I might, I think we've all learned that Father Joe at St. Mary's had a little accident today. Someone unfortunately hit him with a car in the parking lot, and he was transported to Vassar. Don't know the status of any injuries. Didn't seem to be anything critical at the time, anecdotally is what I hear. So certainly our thoughts and prayers to him. Joe DeFrancesco's a project facilitator here. His father passed away, and my condolences to he and the family.
So that veteran meeting is going to be next Tuesday?
Yes,
Tuesday here?
right here, 5 o'clock.
Let's get that on the e-gov. Are we allowed to open it up to all veterans to show up? How do you want to do that?
All veterans, Town of Fishkill.
All right, so remind me for the e-gov, we'll set that up so we can get that
Sure.
out. John?
Okay, so at this time, I have the pleasure of reading a letter that is authored by our town clerk, Rebecca Tompkins, and it is about Cooper Leatherwood.
Cooper?
You ready? Okay. Cooper is working towards receiving his designation to become a registered municipal clerk through the New York State Town Clerks Association. He has already taken a couple of training webinars this year alone. Through all his years of experience and training, he is very close to qualifying. I am extremely proud that he wishes to continue his education for the residents of Fishkill. Cooper works directly with our program software companies for any issues we may encounter or updates to the programs, as this is not my wheelhouse.
We know that.
Most recently, Cooper has amended the peddling soliciting permit application to incorporate the new New York State Building Code requirements for food trucks. This required reformatting the application. He has also updated much of the wording and instructions to make this more cohesive and user-friendly for the residents. He also worked on a project to create labels for the disability parking tags. This streamlines the process, making it more efficient and faster for the residents. So, obviously, Becky is very happy with you, and thank you for all that you do, and keep up the good work.
Thank you, Cooper.
Thank you,
Cooper.
Thank you.
All right, I'm done. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. I want to talk about a couple things. First of all, we had a couple new hires at the Parks and Grounds, at the Parks and Buildings. You can see an improvement, especially when needing certain things in the town hall. Shout out to Angel, one of our new employees. Also, if you look outside when you leave, you'll see a UTV vehicle outside. That UTV vehicle we used, repurposed to put a plow on it, and also put liquid calcium in the back of the unit. So we're going to now do some experimenting with different products at the town hall and at the police station by using, instead of rock salt, a liquid calcium. Liquid calcium is used less because it works hotter on the blacktop surfaces. So we're looking at alternative measures to now start looking at how we can benefit where all these salts are going into our sewers and drains and into our aquifers. We're looking at other measures to make it a little bit better. So we're doing some experimenting with the grounds. Brandon and the crew are doing this. We're looking forward to see how it works. Keep an eye on it. You'll see liquid down on a lot of these areas instead of granular. Granular, when it comes to rock salt, sticks to your feet. You track it in, it doesn't dissolve right away, where liquid goes down and makes the surface hotter, and then the snow comes down and melts on it, and it doesn't bind to the blacktop. So I'm pretty happy about that. This is a start of something that we're going to implement throughout the years, and I'm glad that we're starting now. We're working on the rec roof in regards to the engineers looking at it, see if we could put the overlay. We're still working on that. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll have some results on that. Our accessory, our park that we're going to put our new, Louise and I have been working on, the playground. That's on its way. We're trying to, hopefully sometime June, we should have that up and ready. And also trying to look into putting some pickleball and tennis courts in. As you'll see on the agenda, we're going to be discussing lights, and hopefully you'll like that too. That's all I have.
Hold on, okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Carmen, thank you very much for taking on that challenge to keep salt out of our aquifer. That's, when we put out the citizens' request for the comprehensive plan, there were 3 items that they were concerned about: overdevelopment, traffic, and the water. The town in the last 3 years has acted very proactively in protecting our aquifer with aquifer protection law. This year we passed the DWSP 2 law, working in conjunction with the state with about $150 grand in in-kind money to identify the problems in the town of Fishkill. and both those recently passed. And our next step is, with this plan from the state, working with the state, they identified what the problems were and where they were coming from. And the big problem is too much salt getting into the aquifer when we plow. And we're going to do testing with this calcium to see if it works, because I rather, as your supervisor, and I'm sure all the board members would agree, I'd rather spend a little more with the roads to prevent the aquifer from getting polluted with chlorides, because it's cheaper than building a $15, $20 million reverse osmosis system to clean the stuff out. So Carmine's going to do some testing around the town, starting at Town Hall campus, and I'm confident that we're going to be heading in the right direction. And once this stuff gets certified into our comprehensive plan, we're going to be eligible for more grants. So we are well ahead of schedule in protecting our most natural resource, our water source, the Clove Creek Aquifer.
If I may, since supervisors started to talk a little bit more about this, is we're looking at just not alternatives with, using liquid. We're going to brine, also implement magic salt. We're looking at other stuff that we'd use less. It's about moderation than just throwing it down. Having technology where we can set our sanders and spreaders to put down at a lower rate based on the temperature of the ground, not based on, let's just throw it down. So there's a lot of things that we're working on, more to come.
Yeah, I believe the whole board agrees. This aquifer is an awesome aquifer. We need to protect it. We've seen what happened in the last summer with problems, especially out west. People are actually running out of water. So we have a pretty good water supply, and we're going to keep it that way. And we're going to do a lot in the next couple of years to make sure that happens. Councilwoman Louise? Councilwoman? Thank you, Carmen.
Okay. Yeah, I have a few things, if you could just bear with me. I'd like to congratulate Police Officer John Cronin on his retirement from the Fishkill Police Department. I would have congratulated him in person like Council Members Rye, Isfan, and Foreman at a party that was given for him, but I wasn't invited. Councilmember Foreman posted a photo of himself, Councilmember Rye, and Isfan presenting a proclamation to him from the entire board, yet the entire board was not invited. Only the three of them were invited. A resident forwarded me a social media post of the photo from Councilmember Foreman's page where a member of the GOP questioned why the supervisor and I weren't present and if we support the police. Councilman Foreman, in his reply, failed to mention we weren't invited and instead ended with, "We have a different way of governing in many ways." He is correct about that. I govern for the people of our town, the town I have resided in for 30 years. In my opinion, someone from another town who appears to come to our town to run for a seat on our board for, in my opinion, only medical and dental insurance, an increase in our board salary, and an $80,000 insurance contract to somebody he knows, he definitely does not govern the same as I do. I am for the people, not myself. For anyone to question my support of the police is a personal insult. I have dedicated 20 years of my life as a state trooper and as a sergeant, and served the residents of our town as well as the surrounding towns and villages. I was also a 9/11 first responder. So don't ask if I backed the blue. I was the blue, or shall I say gray. As far as the continued attack to defame me, Councilmember Foreman's GOP friend then asked if I support the Town of Fishkill Police Department. Anyone can look back to the beginning of my term to see I have and continue to support the Fishkill Police, as well as the PBA at fundraising events. When the entire board was invited to the 50th anniversary celebration of the cadet program, I arrived and saw a program and noticed that Councilmember Isfan's name wasn't on it. I asked the detective why they didn't include his name. He told me because he wasn't going to be there because he was away. I said to him, even though he's not here, you should mention his name as he is a part of the entire board. So when he thanked the town board, he thanked all of us, including Councilmember Isfan, because that was the right thing to do. So by implying that myself and the supervisor in some way don't back the blue and intentionally don't go to a retirement party couldn't be further than the truth. I don't need ride-alongs and social media photo ops to convince people I support the police, state, county, or local police. So I would appreciate it if my fellow board members would stop politicizing our police department and manufacturing misinformation to lead the way for attacks on myself and the supervisor. We are coming upon election season, and with most of the board planning on running for various seats, instead of planting seeds of misinformation, let's try and focus on governing together for the people. Thank you to the citizen who knows myself and the supervisor and was unafraid to defend our character. On a different note, I was honored to be invited to West Point to watch Congressman Pat Ryan take his oath of office for the 18th Congressional District. Former Council Member Kenya Gadsden was also asked to attend, and she read a poem during the ceremony, as well as County Legislator Yvette Valdez-Smith was also in attendance. The Congressman looks forward to working with us all to do whatever is needed to assist our Fishkill residents in the future with whatever needs they have. As far as the rec center update, the seniors enjoyed soup and sandwich lunch on the 26th, and they will have a Valentine's Day lunch on the 14th. This Friday, Fairground Incorporated is offering a free market event for perishable and non-perishable food to our seniors. You had to have been pre-registered. And for those who don't know, Fairground Incorporated is a woman-founded food justice anti-hunger organization which distributes food to community members. Jay has asked me to tell everyone that we also have a lot of upcoming spring and summer programs planned, and registration opens February 6th. Visit fishkillrecreation.com to see what he has planned and to register. Thank you.
All right.
Louise, the residents of Fishkill don't really care whether you were invited to a retirement party or not, just so you know.
If I may, this is very important. If my name gets mentioned in anything, a lot of times I stay quiet. Which is important is, I wasn't invited to this event. I just showed up because I know Officer Cronin, and I just happened to stop in, and somebody that was a former officer reminded me about the event. I saw the supervisor, he told me about it, and that there was going to be, something nice for him. I asked him if he was going. He's like, I wasn't invited. I just showed up, I wasn't invited. But it was a nice gesture as me as a town councilman to be there, and Officer Cronin was very happy, in tears, thanking us for being there. I did it for the kindness of my heart. That was it.
For myself, Supervisor, just so you know, the people can think whatever the people want, and if they want to put it in rewind and listen to everything I've said, I think they'll appreciate the fact of what I said. And if a proclamation is being presented for the board, the entire board should be invited, or at least know about it.
Brian, you want to say anything?
Well, I wasn't invited to the congressman's swearing in. I would have attended if I was. I mean, the thing is, I was asked to come by someone that was organizing it, and when I bring a proclamation for a good man that's been on the town board, the police department for 23 years, that's it. And I did, and I was glad to be there. He was touched. I was touched to be there. I'm not in charge of the invitation list. That's all there is to it. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I did read the comment. I did see John say he thought I backed the blue, and I appreciate that. Carmine, you think I backed the blue?
Yes, you are. You were part of the blue.
Brian,
What's that?
do I back the blue?
You have those moments.
What do I back the blue?
It's not for me to say, it's for you to say.
Okay.
I'm not here to give testimony on what you do. You do it yourself. You got a microphone.
Yeah, I do have a microphone. What's that?
I think that's a good answer.
Yeah, my record of back in the blue, I will give a nice, thorough answer to the councilman after we vote on this police officer lawsuit. And there's one consistent thing in the last 15 years, as I sat in those seats for over 15 years. Back in the blue, this guy right here, always. And I got proof tonight after we vote on this. I'll let the residents know, so stay tuned. It's going to be interesting. And just one comment for the councilwoman. Thank you very much for your service. Your life is going to be cut short because of your duties as a police officer. Anyone attacking you for your dedication to the residents of the state of New York are just nasty people. And these people want to divide this town in order to gain a specific advantage, even when they lie. Don't forget, less than 2 years ago, people put signs on the street saying that I cut police spending when in fact I raised police spending 14%. Playing politics with the police is the worst thing we can do. It's bad for the police, it's bad for anybody, and it's bad. So thank you very much for your service, and good comments.
Thank you, Supervisor. Also, I don't make the list for who's invited to the congressman swearing in. I would have gone to the assemblyman swearing in. I would have gone to the senator swearing in. I'm an independent. I don't care what the people are, so I would have gone to anyone's, but I wasn't invited to those two, so other
Thank
people
you.
were.
Thank you. Now, the chief.
Good evening, Supervisor, Town Council members. I'm here tonight to present to the Town Board and community members the Town of Fishkill Police Department's State of Department Report. In 2020, we recognize the need to assess and improve our policies and procedures to ensure transparent, safe, and accountable service to residents of the Town of Fishkill. In March of 2021, we began the process of revising our General Orders Manual. 1 month later, the Governor signed into law the Professional Policing Act of 2021, the purpose of which is to strengthen the state's oversight of municipal police agencies with the goal of ensuring that individuals employed as police officers across the state are qualified physically and psychologically to fit and serve and protect their communities. This is achieved through state requirements which agencies must now comply with by following 2 new law enforcement agency accreditation programs, standards affecting hiring procedure, background investigations, and reporting requirements. January of 2023, the Police Department assigned an accreditation manager and began implementing the accreditation program to meet required standards. An assistant to the program manager will be selected in the coming weeks. Their job will be to assist in compiling documentation to demonstrate compliance with standards established by the accreditation program. We will be consulting with staff from the Division of Criminal Justice Services to provide support throughout the process. Just bear with me, please. We're experiencing technical difficulties. It doesn't seem to want to load on this computer properly.
I hate when that happens.
All right. The department organizational chart shows the ranking structure and the 3 divisions within the agency: Administrative, Patrol Services, and Special Services. The Administrative Division provides support to the line functions of the department, oversees the purchase and implementation of equipment, supervision of non-sworn personnel, and training. The Patrol Division is the largest and most visible detail of the Police Department and is responsible for all general police services throughout the town. The Special Services Division oversees unique resources, including the Detective Bureau, which is the investigative arm of the PD, the Community Policing Unit, Animal Control, and additional community engagement resources. To give a brief history of the staffing of the department, in 2007, an administrative study of the Town of Fishkill Police Department was conducted by the Division of Criminal Justice Services. The purpose of the study was to provide assistance necessary to aid administrators in combining new ideas, concepts, and methods with a professional and objective analysis of local realities. The study focused on immediate needs and incorporated both historical data and emerging trends, giving decision makers an impartial look at the police department from the perspective of an outside agency. At the time, the police department was staffed by 1 police chief, 1 captain, 1 patrol lieutenant, 1 detective lieutenant, 8 patrol sergeants, 1 detective sergeant, 1 community policing sergeant, 7 detectives, and 22 uniformed police officers, all of which were sworn part-time personnel. "16 years later, staffing levels reflect an increase in manpower necessary to meet the needs of the community and uphold the contractual agreement between the town and the police union. The police department provides full-time service, 24/7, 365 days a year, manned by part-time employees, all of which are sworn officers, either current or retired officers from other departments. Today, the department is staffed by 1 police chief, 3 lieutenants, 7 patrol sergeants, 1 administrative sergeant, 1 detective sergeant, 5 detectives, 24 police officers, and 2 community policing officers. We are down 2 patrol sergeants and 3 detectives. The selection process is underway to fill those vacancies." Our patrol division runs optimally at 25 to 26 uniform positions. This allows us to staff every tour at minimum manpower, taking into account extra hours worked on investigations, report writing, emergency operations such as storm coverage, and mandatory training while staying within the civil service annual hourly limitations and the state's earnings limit. Our patrol division is currently down to 24 officers and will experience additional shortages as we reorganize to fill promotional vacancies and special assignments, such as the new traffic officer position added to the 2023 budget, designed to address the increased volume of traffic complaints we've received and focus on making roadways safer throughout the town. 2 additional positions have also been included in the 2023 department roster: a school security officer who will protect students, teachers, staff, and visitors from harm and ensure their safety. The assigned officer will address suspicious activities and interact with students. In addition, there's a third position, which will be a drug task force officer who will be assigned to the Dutchess County Drug Task Force at 100% reimbursement of his salary through the county.
And did you say I'm sorry to interrupt there.
It's okay.
The officer at the school system is going to be paid for by the school system?
That'll be 100% reimbursed through the Wappinger Central School District. Here you see the 2007 non-sworn personnel staffing levels compared to today. In 2007, the department was staffed with 4 full-time police assistants, 1 serving as the supervisor for the dispatching section. The department had 18 part-time police assistants, dispatchers, and 1 animal control officer. Today, our non-sworn personnel consists of 3 full-time police assistant positions, 1 of which is vacant while we wait for the results of the civil service exam to be published, expected in the next few months. 12 part-time police assistant positions exist, 4 of which are currently vacant. 4 replacement applicants have been identified, interviews and employment background processing to begin in the coming weeks. Listed before you are the department calls for service, specifically reports we consider public safety concerns. Orders of protection and calls related to mental health increased in 21 and 22. Research indicates a major explanation for the increase is the unprecedented stress caused by social isolation and symptoms experienced from the COVID-19 pandemic. Public safety numbers are up due to the addition of an officer to the community policing unit conducting foot patrols in the business district, and patrol officers providing increased school security. Overall, there are no real spikes that would cause concern. This pie chart shows calls for service by priority. First priority calls make up 6% of overall calls. These include any call related to the physical safety of a person, such as a robbery, assault, harassment, disputes. The second priority makes up another 6% and includes property crimes such as burglaries, criminal mischief, vandalism, financial scams, theft of service, and theft of motor vehicles. The third priority calls are related to general public safety and are not always criminal in nature. They include suspicious person calls, auto accidents, drug offenses, and prostitution, making up 30% of all calls. Fourth priority refer to those related to community service, such as medical emergencies, civil complaints, which make up 49% of our calls for service. Total number of auto accidents increased in 2022, mainly in the area of property damage auto accidents. The department investigated 3 fatal accidents in 2022, 2 motor vehicle versus pedestrian, and 1 solo motorcycle accident, none of which were identified as criminal in nature. UTTs are down, but are not an accurate reflection of car stops conducted by our officers. Of course, they have the ability to use their discretion when stopping motorists for traffic violations, and many times warnings are issued in lieu of a traffic summons. Parking summons experienced a decrease in 2021 due to MTA and Park Police assuming enforcement authority of parking violations on Route 9D at Breakneck Ridge. In 2021, the PD implemented a domestic violence unit to administer the lethality assessment program, improve relationships with domestic violence partners, conduct follow-ups with domestic violence victims, and ensure they are connected to all the resources and services available to them. Domestic violence follow-ups increased by 59% with implementation of the domestic violence unit. The updated PD website provides a link to domestic violence services in Dutchess County.
Chief,
Yeah.
can we just, so we formed this domestic incident unit in what year?
That was formed in 2021.
All right. And we have no quotas for traffic stops, correct?
We do not.
That's good. Can we go back to this circle where the calls were? So I have one follow-up question on
Sure.
that. Pie chart. Okay. Let's say there was no Town of Fishkill Police Department, and they were still patrolled in 1965 in this scenario. A vast majority of these calls would not even be handled. Would that be a correct statement?
I think that's fair to say.
So they would prioritize one and maybe two, and the other stuff would just get blown off.
Correct. Those calls for service just, they wouldn't have the manpower to cover the community service type of calls that we engage in.
Community policing, okay. So a solid 15, 12% is high priority for us, and the rest is quality of life, you would say?
Correct.
And without a town police department, that big number would not be satisfactory.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that 88% of the calls for service or the service that the PD provides would not exist.
Would not exist. So if somebody from Fishkill, if the state police or the sheriffs would visit, they would not cover this 49% or possibly 37%. They just wouldn't get to it.
I think that's accurate.
Thank you.
A joint prostitution operation with the New York State Police is the only factor contributing to the rise in prostitution offenses in 2022. Overall crime in town is down, but as you can see, those numbers fluctuate year to year. Since 2007, we have experienced a 30% increase in calls for service, a 45% increase in case investigations, and a 35% increase in arrests. Assaults are down, burglaries are slightly up, criminal mischief and criminal contempt are both down, drug offenses are down from 2021 but up from 2020, and harassment is up slightly. Looking at this chart, let's see. Let's see. Looking at this charge, you can see charges for lesser included offenses are listed in parentheses. Similar to case investigations, the reduction in the number of total arrests is reflected by the decrease in reported larcenies. So what I mean when I say lesser included offenses identified in the parentheses is, so you may have a burglary, and during the course of that burglary, they may have been an assault, but that won't be listed under the assault charges because it's a lesser included offense. So even though it occurred, that number isn't clearly represented unless you look at the number within the parentheses. So you can see offenses that are charged, not just the main call type for that specific department response. Larcenies are down, which are all complaint-based arrests. Mental hygiene arrests have increased, while most other classifications have stayed about the same. Some of our job is executing bench warrants and warrants of arrest. Those numbers are up in 2022 compared to previous years. adopted cases. It's common for uniformed officers to complete investigations related to misdemeanor cases such as assaults, larcenies, and criminal mischief. Cases requiring extensive investigation or involving felonies are referred to the Detective Bureau. In addition to conducting criminal investigations, detectives are also assigned pre-employment background investigations, and each detective is tasked with extra duty assignments such as due diligence and execution of warrants, monitoring sex offenders, evidence and property management, youth services, collecting and developing intelligence. Noteworthy cases. Going over noteworthy cases, in October of 2021, a TFPD officer came to the aid of an elderly gentleman who had traveled from his home in Rhode Island to attend the funeral of a fellow veteran. The gentleman discovered he had underestimated the cost of staying in a local hotel, so he came to our police department and requested if he could sleep in his car in the parking lot, as he did not feel safe anywhere else. Upon hearing the gentleman's story, a TFPD police officer made arrangements with the hotel manager for a reduced rate and paid for the gentleman's hotel stay with his own money. Town of Fishkill police officers were dispatched by Dutchess County 911 for a report of a male struck by a train at the Hartsook platform in Dutchess Junction. Officers arrived and located the subject approximately 100 feet west of Route 9D, lying alongside the railroad tracks. They quickly determined the man had in fact been struck by a train and was seriously injured. Upon assessing the man's condition, it was determined he was bleeding profusely from a leg amputation just below the knee. Officers quickly applied a tourniquet and direct pressure, then assisted EMS in getting the patient boarded and off the railroad tracks to an ambulance awaiting transfer to Stat Flight to Westchester County Medical Center. The officers' immediate actions surely contributed to saving the man's life.
Both are commendable. We were able to create the drug task force officer and
Brian, speaking of Mike.
excuse me, we were able to create that drug task force officer, chief, when we put together the drug presentation that we have here that John and I worked on, and we discovered at that time that was that availability, which was it's really kind of an achievement for this force to have an officer on the drug task force. Wouldn't you, do you have any comment on that?
I think it shows the improvement in the department, and not just professionally, but our relationship with agencies within the county, to be recognized, to have risen to a level where the county has finally, after all these years, felt that we were in a position to be included and invited us to the task force. I think that's a huge credit to the police department and the town that we've reached that highest standard, that we got recognized by the county.
It says a lot about the professionalism of our officers.
Some additional noteworthy cases. December of '21, officers responded to a 911 report of a dog attacking a 14-year-old girl in the woods near Gearing Park. The first officer on scene ran into the woods and found the dog viciously attacking two females. Without concern for his own safety, the officer wrestled the dog off the two victims and pinned him to the ground until backup could arrive. If not for the bravery and quick actions of this officer, the two female victims may not have survived the attack. In December of 2021, patrol officers and detectives investigated a hit-and-run motor vehicle accident of an elderly victim standing alongside Route 52. The case was particularly challenging because the victim was adamant she was not struck by a vehicle. However, her injuries, which included bruises, abrasions, and 3 pelvic fractures, were not consistent with her statement. The only evidence of the crash were pieces of a vehicle headlight cover found at the scene. A thorough investigation was conducted, including a lone witness interviewed who was able to give a partial description of the vehicle. Through sheer determination, investigators were able to develop the identity of the driver, and an arrest was made.
That officer that wrestled with the dog, I remember him being here, and we all shook his hand, and quite a brave young guy. Very brave.
That was an incredible feat of bravery.
Yeah.
April of 2022, TFPD officers and the New York State Police conducted a joint operation targeting prostitution and other illegal activity at a local hotel. As a result of the enforcement efforts, 5 people were arrested for prostitution, including multiple charges for criminal possession of a controlled substance. As part of the initiative, arrestees were interviewed to evaluate their safety, potential victimization, and human trafficking, and provided resources to improve their situation. November of 22, officers investigated a report of vehicle break-ins. With assistance from the victim property owner, the stolen goods were tracked to a pawn shop in Fishkill. Further investigation led officers to identify the suspect and locate the remaining stolen property which was returned to the victim. This was one of several cases that was related and solved because of this, the officer's actions in this case. Let's see, moving on to equipment. Some updates in traffic equipment were necessary to maintain investigative and enforcement initiatives. For the last few years, the request for the deployment of speed signs has increased. To keep up with the demand, we evaluated our current equipment and decided updates were necessary. In 2021, one of our older speed trailers became unserviceable due to age and unavailability of replacement parts. Last year, we purchased a new speed messaging sign and trailer to replace the old unit. We also purchased 2 smaller speed signs. We deploy this equipment to slow motorists in areas identified as problematic and in need of focused enforcement efforts. The new equipment allows us to not only provide feedback to drivers, but has the capability of conducting speed and volume surveys that aid in identifying where and when speed violations occur. ALPRs, automated license plate readers, are used by patrol personnel to identify stolen and criminally used vehicles. A new LPR was deployed as a replacement for an outdated device that was taken out of service due to lack of available replacement parts. Emergency equipment.
Chief, we added another license plate reader. How many do we have, and how many we added in the last 2 years?
We had 2 previously. One went out of service because it was no longer operated properly, so we replaced that one. So we currently have 2.
So we're still at 2.
We have 2, but we encumbered funds from 2022 to 2023, so we'll be able to add 1 more to the fleet.
3.
3.
Thank you.
In 2020, we began assessing equipment needs throughout the department. One area we recognized that needed attention was the level of equipment available for our first responders. We determined that emergency equipment supplied in our patrol fleet was insufficient to provide responding officers the tools needed to handle critical incidents. To remedy the problem, we surveyed our patrol officers and command staff to identify essential items. All of our marked patrol vehicles now carry Halligan tools for emergency entries and vehicle extrication, fire extinguishers, medical kits, throw ropes, ballistic vests, and helmets in the event of an active shooter.
We assist with active shooter training during the summer. John and I visited Fishkill Elementary when you were doing that with the rec center staff for the summer program, and that was well done.
Yeah, that's one component of the training that the community policing unit provides. They also do fraud ID scams, active shooter, and some other safety training for, not just for the seniors, but for the residents in general. Computer systems, we're in the process of replacing the department main computer server. It's approximately 12 years old and is no longer able to properly run our records management system. We're experiencing slowdowns, crashes, and loss of data. Our IT company is working to migrate records from our current server to the new computer system, which was purchased in 2022. Security ID system controls both the police department and the town hall is being replaced as part of a cooperative initiative with the building and grounds department. Our current system is beyond repair and in need of replacement. That's moving along pretty smoothly. We should have the first stages of that implemented in the next 4 to 6 weeks. Repurposed computers. We took mobile computer tablets that were previously used for patrol operations in fleet vehicles. They became incapable of operating our new records management system. As they are still viable for field operations, they have been reassigned to the community policing unit to run the Are You OK system, maintaining and updating local business directories, and speed sign equipment management.
Can you just take 1 second and remind the public what the Are You OK program is all about?
Sure. So the Are You OK program is a computerized telephonic system which allows us to automatically in the background, without any real need for manpower up front, to create a registry of our residents who would like to be involved in the service. Typically, it's our seniors. In fact, we just had another one added to the register Monday. And the system calls them at a set time every day to ensure that they're okay. They physically have to answer the phone. When they answer the phone, the system recognizes that it's a person speaking, and it just moves on to the next person in the registry. If for whatever reason they don't call, it'll make 2 more attempts to try and contact them. If by the 3rd attempt it can't reach a physical person at the residence, it'll send an alert to our communication staff, who will dispatch an officer for a welfare check.
That's great.
It's our way of making sure that our residents who don't have somebody who can check on them regularly, are provided that service through the PD.
And all it takes,
What year was that implemented?
That was put in 2020.
Thank you.
so the signing up for that program is a matter of calling in or going online or both?
They can do either. They
Yeah.
can go onto the website and fill out the form and send it to the PD, or come in, whatever's easiest for them.
It's a very good system.
It is. It's been helpful. Let's see. Recognizing the need to improve internet services, we recreated our website, making vast improvements on public information, links to available resources, and online public access to department records and reporting forms. The new site also provides a history of the police department since its establishment in 1971. We entered into a contract with Lexipol in 2021 to provide their knowledge management system. Their KMS offers policies, procedures, routine updates, and best practice recommendations as required by changes in federal, state, and state legislation. The program also provides daily training bulletins that cover anything from active shooter scenarios to bloodborne pathogen training available on the site, along with electronic policy delivery and tracking. With implementation of the Lexipol KMS, the department can now issue routine training bulletins to cover annual mandatory training that meets state and accreditation standards.
Excellent.
Internet technology. In 2019, we partnered with Carfax for Police to provide the public with access to accident reports online from any computer or mobile device. The program also provides officers with investigative tools such as partial plate search, VIN alerts, and vehicle history reports at no cost to the department. Providing online access frees up our communication staff from having to search and distribute reports. Thanks to our collaboration with Lexipol, since January 2021, we have been able to access their CopLogic Command Center program for free. This software provides our department with crash mapping and analytical data of all motor vehicle accidents that occur in the town of Fishkill. Investigators have access to crash report database, and anyone involved in accidents can access crash reports online. It's just another measure of us making it simpler for people to come in and get accident reports without having to come to the police station or deal with the loss of time from their job and being away from home. All that can be accessed from our website. Programs. Since the beginning of 2020, we have established several programs to engage the community. The Are You OK program, which we just discussed, for seniors, operates through the police department computer system. The Special Needs Assistance Program, residents can register special needs family members in the program by providing detailed personal information, remains confidential. It will be used for officers in interactions with the public. This was specifically designed for people with autism. We have some of our residents already registered, and it works in such a way that if you have a child who is autistic and for some reason they get out of the house and they become, a missing person, the officers engage with the child. It's a good way for us to have that information so that we can have a good interaction without, we know where their sensitivities are, and we can have a positive interaction without, any raising concern for the child. And we have pictures of the children or whoever's registered in the police department, so we know what they look like when they go to search for the missing person. Let's see. domestic violence unit, which we spoke about. The internship program, that's something that we started a few years ago. We're continuing to try and develop and improve the program. We are in the process of looking at another intern right now, but the benefit is we work collaboratively with the local colleges. We have an intern come in, they get hands-on practical training through our police agency, and it aids them in a future in law enforcement. Our drug disposal program, permanent drug take-back receptacle installed in the lobby of the PD, something that we did last year. That was in collaboration with CAPE. Dora from CAPE assisted us in getting an award through Department of Justice, which was a grant that completely paid for the drug disposal receptacle. So now residents can come 24/7 to the PD to drop off prescription drugs. Initiatives. The Department Policy and Procedure Manual revision is 72% complete. Our completion date is projected to be the end of the second quarter of 2023. Before policy revisions are complete, we'll begin pursuit of accreditation to improve effectiveness, efficiency, and professionalism, promote training, and foster public confidence. In preparation for New York State certification and accreditation, the department conducted a complete revision of department background investigation procedures. All documentation was rewritten and adopted to comply with the state certification and accreditation standards.
Chief,
Yeah.
when you give us the 71% completed, what would that be in your mind toward the accreditation? 40%, 50%? What is the weight on that?
It's hard to apply. They really have to kind of go hand in hand as you go through, but the fact that we have 71% means that we can move through it on accreditation till we get caught up. And by the time we get caught up, we'll have the other 29% complete. So it's not going to slow us down moving forward with accreditation. We will get there.
So you're saying that 71% will be applicable for the accreditation, or is that a lesser number?
It is. It's applicable towards accreditation.
So everything that you're doing with the rules and regulations is geared to do the accreditation at the same, right after?
We could start it right now. We are starting it now.
And we'll already have those policies in place?
Yes.
Very good.
A real quick question on the background checks for our candidates to become a police officer. It's a lot, just so the public knows, it's extremely thorough now. I mean, there's a lot of time taken, there's a lot of investigation, there's a lot of questions asked on neighbors and et cetera, et cetera. So when our citizens know there's a candidate here, that's an extremely thorough background check, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So we began rewriting the background investigation policy and procedures last year. We did that ahead of the New York State Professional Policing Act coming out. We were very fortunate. We didn't foresee it coming, but we knew it was a revision that we had to make. We did a complete overhaul of our procedure. When the Professional Policing Act came out, we already had it implemented and we were ready to roll. So just the fact that we revised everything, we now meet state certification and accreditation standards. Let's see. Training. One of our goals for 2023 is to create a standardized training schedule that covers all mandatory criteria. We recognize the need to have some officers trained and certified as instructors to provide in-service training to our membership. Our administrative lieutenant has been designated as department training officer and has been doing a great job getting all of these courses scheduled. All of the trainings listed will be offered to outside agencies. The benefit to hosting training courses is that TFPD receives no-cost training for our membership, saving the town thousands in training fees. All members of the command staff are offered FBI law enforcement executive training, a 3-part series designed to advance the science and art of law enforcement leadership and promote the exchange of information to improve law enforcement management practices through training, education, and networking among police professionals across the United States and beyond. All of our command staff are in various stages of the training. The Town of Fishkill Police Department recognizes the importance of community policing and engagement. We understand that proactive problem solving is designed to engage the community and develop solutions to their public safety issues. To that end, our community policing unit continues to offer seminars and training to children, teens, seniors, residents, and local businesses of the town and village of Fishkill in school security, internet safety, telephone scams, fraud, identity theft, and active shooter response for civilians. These are all ongoing courses provided by our community policing unit. Community policing events. We're fortunate to work in a community that fully supports its police department. The generosity of our residents during the Toys for Tots collection event last year was overwhelming. We were able to distribute toys to over 100 families. Holiday events hosted by the Town Recreation Department are always hugely successful, and we're proud to be invited to participate with them each year. National Night Out is a national community building campaign that promotes police-community partnerships. Last August, the police department held our first NNO. We hope to make it an annual event. With assistance from the Recreation Department, Building and Grounds, and support of the town board, the event exceeded our expectations. Blodgett Memorial Library graciously hosts Coffee with a Cop and invites our officers to attend every year. This year, they hosted the first Adopt a Cop event, during which all of the police officers from the town and village of Fishkill PDs were adopted by neighborhood kids. Many local families had attended the event, which was held in the conference room at our police department. We had a great turnout and saw many smiling faces. Grants and revenue. Last year, we applied for a federal body armor grant to help subsidize the cost of replacing our officers' expired body armor. We recently received notice that the grant was awarded in the amount of $10,450. Several years ago, we received a similar federal grant to replace body-worn vests. Surplus vests from that era were inventoried and sent to the Ukraine to assist in relief efforts. That was a project that was spearheaded by the administrative lieutenant. Each year, we apply for a grant to reimburse the portion of the cost of our Lexipol knowledge management system. That's the system that provides us with policies and procedures. For the last 3 years, we have received a total of $6,853 to help with those costs. In 2021, we applied for and were awarded $1,610 from the National Rifle Association to purchase AR-15 rifles for our patrol division. Drug disposal program. Last year, we worked with DORA, as I said before. We worked with DORA from Cape to acquire a drug disposal receptacle through a grant from the Department of Justice. It's now located in the lobby of the PD, available 24/7 to accept the disposing of prescription drugs. Evolving New York State law. In 2018, New York State signed new legislation raising the age of criminal responsibility to 18 years of age. The reason I'm showing this is just to show you some of the changes in the law that have occurred in the last 4 years and to give you an idea of some of the challenges that we experienced due to the changes in the law. January of 2020, criminal justice reform went into effect, removing cash bail and pretrial detention for most misdemeanors and nonviolent felonies. The biggest change to discovery is that prosecutors must now automatically hand over relevant information in 20 calendar days. In June of 2020, the governor signed an executive order to reinvent and modernize police strategies and programs, requiring every police department in New York State to develop a reform plan with community input. In March of 2021, the town board adopted the police reform plan developed by the Town of Fishkill Police Department in cooperation with the Police Advisory Council. The red flag law went into effect in August of 2019, also known as the Extreme Risk Protection Order Law. Allows law enforcement officials authority to file a petition to the court to seize the guns of people that the court finds are dangerous to themselves or others. In July of 2022, the governor signed state law into effect expanding ERPO requirements for all law enforcement agencies in New York State. The new law now requires law enforcement to file for an ERPO upon receiving information that shows there is probable cause to believe that an individual is likely to engage in conduct that would result in serious harm to himself, herself, or others. In April of 2021...
Can I ask you right there, just real quickly without getting bogged down, but I mean, how discretionary is that? That just feels like it gives so much power to people to take someone's guns away, though I know that there are those people that need them taken away, but, I mean, that's just such a gray area right there.
With the new requirement that came out last year, it takes all of the discretion away. So it's mandatory. If it's a credible threat, then we have to file for the ERPO. Now, there's multiple steps to get that order issued by the court, and that's it's a lot of work by the police department. It's a lot of manpower to deal with, but we're taking taking it extremely seriously, and we're moving forward with it. Once someone meets that criteria, it's out of our hands. We have to apply to file for an ERPO.
So the anonymous person just can't call the Fishkill PD and say, some guy's got a gun and I think he's a threat.
They can, and we'll investigate it. And
So
if-
you will investigate an anonymous
We will.
under this, what is it, ERPO?
Yes. If a call comes in that someone is a threat to themselves or someone else, we'll dispatch officers, they'll investigate it. If they determine that it's a credible threat, then we are required by law to file for an ERPO.
Okay.
Let's see. In April of 2021, New York State Professional Policing Act was signed into law, effectuating revisions and updates to numerous statutes in relation to the policing profession. The new law established minimum hiring standards, codified requirements relating to background investigations, including search of the Central State Registry of Police Officers and the National Decertification Index. So basically what the Professional Policing Act did was it raised the standards for hiring. It now requires every agency in New York State to meet certain standards before you can approve a police officer candidate for hiring.
That's a good thing, right?
It's a good thing. Effective December 2022, New York State raised the lower age of legal jurisdiction for juvenile delinquency by changing it from the age of 7 to the age of 12. That was just a recent amendment. Ever-evolving changes to New York State law have presented challenges to all law enforcement agencies in New York State. Every change in the law requires agencies to update policies and procedure and be sure it is disseminated and reviewed by all officers, as well as provide training. Let's see. On behalf of the Town of Fishkill Police Department, I'd like to thank the supervisor, the town board, and all of the residents of the Town of Fishkill for taking the time and attention allowing me to provide this presentation to you this evening.
Good job, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions for the chief?
I have about 20, just
All
kidding.
right. We'll see you tomorrow. Anybody over
Conrad's
here?
looking at me. No.
Anybody from the audience?
I have one.
Louise?
Chief, for the SRO, the school resource officer, it's not a full-time one. It's somebody that's part-time in the school for a couple hours a day. Is that correct?
Yeah, ideally, we've received reimbursement through the grant for 20 hours per week. So what we want to do is assign one officer. That officer will have complete buy-in. They'll get to know the kids, the parents, the staff at the school, and they'll all get to know him. They'll be comfortable with him. They'll see him there every day, Monday through Friday. It's going to be 4 hours a day. Typically, we'll probably assign him to the morning hours when they're coming to school, so they'll see him, and he'll greet them every day when they come in.
Are they assigned now? This was from last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, we just received the executed IMA, and we're ready to move forward. We're just waiting for our staffing to reach a limit where we have the body to put into the program.
Again, will be a dedicated officer for that program.
It'll be a dedicated officer.
Chief, the snow procedure, our winter procedures, have you seen, I've seen a lot of cars parking on the roads that shouldn't be parking during the snow time hours. Have you noticed any of that yourself?
So our midnight patrol is always aware of that. If they see the cars parked, typically the first month we'll give them warnings just to give them an opportunity to make whatever adjustments they need to prepare for the winter. Then after that, we'll start issuing local ordinances. But if the highway department has a problem with a car parked on the side of the road, they can call us anytime and we'll assist in getting the vehicle removed immediately.
Thank you. Anybody else? On behalf of the town board and the citizens of Fishkill, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good job, chief.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we're going to hit discussions. The Booth Boulevard, the lady came back from vacation, or wherever she was, and we're just trying to figure out the right money and whether we have to create a district or not, so that's still up in the air. So let's move that to the next meeting, the second meeting in March.
Supervisor?
What?
I
Yes.
thought we originally discussed that we were going to ask the people in that area if they actually wanted the lights.
I don't know what the cost is going to be. Once I find out what the cost is going to be, then I'm going to ask them if they want the lights.
I think we had all decided we weren't going to wait for the cost, we just wanted to see if they wanted it first, beforehand.
I don't recall. Guys, you remember?
I didn't hear the question, I'm sorry.
She wants me to, I have the letters already, I think I got the letters.
Brian, I was talking about the lighting district for that area.
Yeah.
And I recall when we originally spoke about it, we said we were going to ask the people first if they wanted it, not find out the cost and then ask them later.
Yeah, I thought we were going to get sign off too. Yeah. Is that, were we going to send them letters, I thought?
I was just going to follow, I like to get a hard cost, so I can tell them this is what it will cost you if we do it. And
Yeah.
if they don't want to do it, then we just don't do it.
Okay.
And the other issue is that there's poles already there. Are they already included in the lighting district? Because it goes out of the town and then goes back into the town.
There is no lighting.
There's no
district.
lighting district.
Yeah,
But there's connections of power.
but as far as our comptroller, there is no lighting district,
Yeah.
so one would have to be designated, and the money wasn't allocated for
Correct.
this year, so we'd have to look into.
But I got to find out if Central Hudson can piggyback to the other lighting district. So that's what I'm trying to figure
I
out.
nominate the supervisor to follow through on that.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So give me another month. I would like to know, because if they have to create a lighting district, it's going to cost a lot of money, and I don't think it's going to go. So if it's a piggyback, I think they might do it. So the second meeting of March. Yep. All right, so the next up are three, what we want to do is name the roads leading into Doug Phillips, Shepherd, and Merrill Green Park, so we can allocate money so we can pave them. I've got two of them on my mind, one for Merrill Gearing Park. I'd like to consider you guys to name that after the gentleman that forged Washington's sword, Mr. Bailey. Maybe name that Bailey Way. And then the second one, Shepherd Memorial Park. Louise had one of her banners on my secretary's desk, and it was a young man. He was 24 years old. He was killed in, I saw the KIA on the banner, and he's from Fishkill. He was from Fishkill, and before he was 24, he had 4 kids. And he went to combat, and he was killed in combat.
World War II.
And since we're going to...
Which war?
I apologize, World War II.
Oh.
So he was 24 years old, had a family of 4, and was killed in combat. So I was just thinking that we name Shepherd Memorial Park after him, because I hope we can get the Little League lights there, and when the kids play their games there, maybe we could put a plaque or something saying, this young man did all of this so they can play at night. So it may put a little perspective of the benefits this country offers, to its citizens. So,
I like it.
You think that's okay with my first two, Bailey and
Yeah.
the other gentleman?
Sounds good.
I was wanting to ask Virgil for a recommendation on one of these names, and, I mean, that's perfect right there.
And then Doug Phillips Park, I got one more opening here, and I can't. The first supervisor in Fishkill was before the United States was even formed, like in 1688, they had supervisors, that's what they called them. I think his name was S-W-O-R-T, Wart, and he fought in the Revolution, big family, but I don't know. I'm out of suggestions.
Let's maybe start looking at our history. Someone that's still alive and very honorable and historical is Willis Skinner.
It's a possibility.
Willis Skinner.
Skinner Way.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's nice.
What do you think about that,
I like that.
guys?
Sure.
All right. I'm good with that. So Doug Phillips Park, Skinner Way.
Do you want to put her first name?
I think Skinner Way sounds pretty
So
cool.
for the other one, are we doing Hunt Way?
Well, no, I want to do, Willa, right?
Willa.
Skinner Way sounds pretty cool. Bailey Way sounds pretty cool. And then for the
Hunt.
Hunt, I would do Private First Class Charles T. Hunt. I want to emphasize that he was in the military.
Sounds good.
You guys okay with me passing that at the next meeting?
I like it.
Mr. Gabbard, just a resolution is good enough to do that?
Well, the resolution is good enough. You're going to want to, and I don't think you'll have a problem with any of these. You're going to want to check with your 911, just to make sure that there's no other roads that have these names, because you could have to
Check
confuse them.
911.
Good point.
I doubt it, but you're right. You never know. So if 911 is okay with these, we can go ahead and do it?
By
Just a
resolution,
regular-
absolutely.
Thank you very much. So I'll have that ready for the next town board meeting, which will be the 15th. Yep. All right, discussion, next up is discussion of adopting a local law providing volunteer fire, volunteer ambulance and workers' real property tax exemption. The issue with this one is we can do it, but they might get a bigger break on their income tax bill. Catch-22.
It is catch-22. I mean, it's kind
messed
of,
up.
plus, Dutchess is about to put in place a tax reduction as well. I mean, at the county level. So just because we put it in place doesn't mean they have to file for it, though. Can we just have it there, it's their option?
I don't know. That's
Yeah.
what we're here to discuss.
Mr. Gaba, can you maybe help us out with this?
Yeah, in order to claim the real property tax deduction, a fireman or an EMS volunteer worker has to file a form with the assessor to claim the deduction. If they don't wish to claim the real property tax deduction, they can still take the volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers' income tax credit, which is offered by the state. That's $200. As far as the real property tax exemption goes, for 2024, you certainly are free to adopt it anytime during 2023, and people can choose which one of the two they want to do. 2023, you'd have to have it in place prior to March 1st, and that timeframe is just not going to work out for you. The other thing, as Ozzy brought up, is it's probably going to, unless you have everybody, the school district, the county, fire district, anybody who's a taxing entity, adopt this tax exemption, the amount that people receive on it will probably not exceed the $200. So to work on that over the course of 2023 and see if you can get everybody to buy in so that the volunteer firemen and volunteer ambulance workers can choose between the two of them, have their accountant or figure out on their own which one makes more sense for them, makes sense. But to run out and just adopt it on your own, it's probably, nobody's gonna elect it.
Yeah, they're going to make more money off the state.
I think, I think that's pretty much what, you just reiterated what the assessor said in an email
Yeah,
to
no,
us.
she's
Yeah,
spot on.
exactly,
She's
yeah.
spot on.
All right, so let's table this to December.
I actually reached
he's
out,
spot on.
I actually reached out to Dr. Bonk at Wappinger Central to ask them if he's familiar with this and if the school district's going to do something. I never heard back. I know, things get lost in the tracks, but I think we should table it and just kind of revisit it.
I
So
agree.
we got till March of 2024 to do it if we wanted to do it.
What about like the
So
summertime?
I'm going to table it to December,
Okay.
because the
only
problem,
thing I'd
like,
add to it, Ozzy, and I don't think it's going to matter, but the statute gives 3 years in which to enact this. Apparently, if you don't enact it within the 3 years, you can't opt into enacting it. The state will probably extend the time on it, but the 3 years runs from the beginning of 2023, so you'd have until 2026.
what is the percentage that they would get a deduction? Was it 20%?
10.
So you're talking 10%. My house is assessed
Just
around.
off 10, just off the town taxes.
Yeah, so my house is assessed at $300,000. I pay about $500 a year in taxes. That's $50. If I was a volunteer fireman, I would get $200 from the state. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So
I got to talk to our assessor about your assessment.
I got to talk to him about yours.
Oh, man. Let's don't go there.
Yes.
Don't open up a can of worms.
Yeah. So basically, and we've done very good with the assessments for the citizens of Fishkill. I made a promise that we wouldn't use extra assessed values for any extra income. I kept my word. I've been talking to the residents of Fishkill coming in to pay their tax bills this year. They are extremely happy with what this town board has been doing for the last 3 years. So I'd like to make a shout out to the citizens. I kept my word to you. All right, so this first meeting of December. All right, the big one, discussion of Fishkill Little League lights. Give Carmine a little opportunity to explain what we're up to.
Oh, you want me to start?
Yes.
Okay, so we're working on, working with Little League, well, not just Little League, it's a park improvement, a capital improvement to our parks. We want to do lightings at 2 of our parks, actually 2 of our fields that are used by our Little League and other entities throughout the town. So we want an ability to play games at night. And it's a nice thing where the Little League tournaments, people within a community can use it, and if you want to play at night, there will be a scheduled fee for it. Little League would participate in this, and there'd be a big benefactor of this, but also they're willing to put $75,000 of their money into this, along with our contribution. But it's our asset, it's for the town, it's for the whole town use, not just for the Little League. As we go on and everybody has questions, maybe I can answer some questions more about it, but that's my 2 cents.
So the gist of it is, we want to light up 2 Little League fields. As the councilman said, Little League's going to put in $75,000. We're going to use $100,000 out of ARPA money, and we're going to use $200,000 out of our Reserve A fund, general fund, which we have $5 million in surplus. In a 10-year period, we're going to enter into an agreement with Little League where they pay us back $26,000 a year for 10 years. I think it's a great plan. I think it's great for the community. This is an asset for everybody in the community. We'll be able to host tournaments. We have hotels, and I think it'll be a good economic boom to the citizens to have this lighting district in the town of Fishkill for Little League.
So proposal would be that Little League pays us a license agreement every year for 10 years, giving us $26,000 a year for 10 years. It's a contribution from Little League, and we would extend their contract for that term so they get full usage of it.
John?
No questions yet.
No, I remember the previous presentation. It just seems like not only should we do it, but it's something that's absolutely necessary, so, yeah.
So okay if I move on, Brian?
I think so.
Louise?
So for myself, when we first started talking about this, I was told it was going to be $100,000 that we were putting in from ARPA, and they were putting in $100,000. And somehow that morphed into 2 fields and a lot more money than what we originally said. So I want to see it in writing, because I get confused as to the way you're saying they're going to give us money, we're going to loan it, they're going to pay it back. So I kind of want to see something in writing first before I...
It'll be in a resolution.
Well, not in a resolution, like to see it so we can actually discuss it before we actually have it in a resolution.
Okay.
You want something from the Little League, is that what you're saying?
Well, actually from Mr. Gaba explaining
Yeah.
specifically, because like I said, this turned into something else. It turned into, a capital project. So I don't want to spend money on the project managers and this and everything
No,
else.
there'll be no
you know.
project managers.
I'm just saying, like, it turned into much more than it originally was, and I think we need to evaluate the cost of it before we actually just jump into it. I think it's a good, it's a good thing to do, but it went from 1 to 2 to, and whose is it? Who pays for the lighting district? There's a lot of questions that I'd like answered before we
Yeah,
get a resolution.
just there's a lot of questions that I took into consideration that you asked me. So the town, since we own the property and we own the lighting, we own the service. So we'll get the bill, and then Little League will pay their share of whatever time that they use on that field. We'll do it in 3-hour increments and measure the kilowatts. Also, if someone rents the field, we're going to have a set fee, and we're going to charge them based on what we know our kilowatt charge is, and we're going to establish new fees for our fields, non-lights and with lights. We'll own the lights, and also we're going to prepare for future if we want to extend to another field, like we're going to do B and C field. If we want to extend to D field, once we get the drainage situated, what we're going to do is have future lighting there ready to go. So why the proposal of 2 fields is because one field, for another $75,000, you can get 2 fields. If you piecemeal it, it's going to become a lot more expensive. So cost analysis, and with Little League, with the license agreement, we thought, when Supervisor and I met with Little League, that the most cost-effective way is to do 2 fields now. Yes, cost-effective would be do 3 fields, but it's not in the budget to do that. But doing 2 fields, and for a future field, for Field D, makes the most sense, and having the lighting, not just for Little League, it's for the whole community.
Yeah, this is something that's going to really, I keep saying it, instead of helping developers make cash in Fishkill, I'm taking those resources and improving our parks for your quality of life and your children, grandchildren's quality of life.
Carmen, I just have a couple more questions.
So, Mr. Gaba, can you give us like a general thing that Councilwoman Daniele would like to see in a week or 2?
Yeah, I could put together a draft now. We're going to have to run it by Little League, and you understand that Little League has already gone out and looked into plans for lighting for the park.
It's already done.
But my question is, because I know I spoke about this with Carmine and Olympia, and who is going to be doing it? So is it somebody that is a state contract? Let's make
Yes.
sure we have all this before,
So-
because I don't want to turn into the same
No.
highway department fiasco that we're dealing with today. That's
So,
my point.
we have a vendor who is licensed under the agreement that our requirement for bidders, so they're all set. We looked that up, we got their numbers, and they're good to go. Light survey was done. I think we should share that with the board, the light survey.
The light survey for the neighbors.
So we
The
can-
lights, explain how the lights work.
So it's LEDs, and when the LEDs, when you got, like, the old Renegade Field, they were like big old lights that just illuminate everywhere. So with the LEDs, they actually illuminate down, and they get like a bright, like a blue light, white, down, so it doesn't really filter up high, and it gets drowned out, but it mostly goes to the field.
Yeah, outstanding. Anything else,
Go ahead,
Elise?
Fred.
Well, no, just for myself, like I said, I had originally agreed to 100 of the ARPA money if the other ARPA money that was dedicated to water things were left alone, which it wasn't, it was taken out. So just to hear that, like, we're using $200,000 from the A fund is a little disconcerting, because I'd just like us to all be involved in that decision instead of being told that that's what's going to happen, because now we're talking $300,000. So I just would like to see everything in writing before we move
Just
forward.
to follow up, that loop system was not part of any ARPA plan. That was just trying to get a grant while we had the opportunity.
It was in there.
It
Yeah,
was in there in
it
order
was
to
in
try to
there.
get a grant.
I'm not going to argue. It was in there and it was
Okay.
taken out. So
All
if we
right.
have more need for money for that loop in the future, I would hope that if we have this money that we're taking out of the A fund, we could think about that for that also.
So just to reiterate, so 75,000 Little League's going to donate to the town. 100,000 is coming from ARPA. The 200,000 is coming from our general fund, but we're signing a license agreement with Little League to pay us back, under the license agreement, $26,000 a year for 10 years. So if you look at the long run, it's not cost us anything.
Which is,
You're a good salesman, Carmen.
well, I mean, it just makes sense and it's great. It helps, we help them, but they're going to pay it back. How could we lose, so?
And the economic driver, we have hotels, we have restaurants, there's a lot, there is so much to do when we can host tournaments. It's going to be amazing. But Mr. Gaba, can you please give us a little brief thing in 2 weeks?
I can give you a rough out of the contract. There's items like the plans, for example, which I do not have. So we're going to have to, maybe we can have Little League in to come and supplement. We'll share, if you're so inclined, the rough out with them, and they can fill in any questions the board may have, so we can proceed.
All right, can I ask you a question? Can we have something, if the board is okay with it, can we have something ready for the second meeting of March
Oh,
as a
absolutely.
resolution?
Absolutely. Now, the only thing I'd say on that, and I don't think it's going to matter, but erecting the lights in the park is subject to SECRA. So you're going to have an EAF prepared. You're going to want to adopt, I would think, depending on what information you have before you, negative declaration so that you can proceed with your actions, in adopting the license agreement. But you mentioned, for example, the lighting study, things like that. That will need to be submitted to the board for you to take action under SECRA, making a negative declaration.
Can you do the secret?
I can do it. You need the information
From that.
before you in the record to support a
The
negative
lights.
declaration. Yes.
Anything else besides the lights?
No, that's the only thing you're putting up, isn't it?
All right.
Just
And
like-
Mr. Gavin, we don't need to do a public hearing because the town owns the property, correct?
No, you don't need a public hearing on this.
Okay, so just a secret?
SECRA and then a resolution.
All right, so how
yes.
about we do the secret March 1st, the first meeting of March? Can you have that information
You can
ready?
do both the same night, but my point is that you're
Oh,
going to
okay.
need information before you.
I'll get that to you.
support. Okay, I think Little League has some of it, so you.
Yeah, I'll get that all that information for you. So let's give us an update in 2 weeks and have a resolution in secret prepared for the second meeting of March.
That would be fine.
So table this. You know what, just close it out and I'll just do a resolution. No, you don't like me doing
No, I
that?
want to discuss it. I want to see it
All
on
right.
paper.
Second meeting
Because
of
then you
March.
end up discussing it anyway.
And then we're going to discuss it.
Remind me tomorrow with Greg, I got on here, okay, the
Thank you,
lights.
Doctor.
No, I'm not here, just tell them what I want to do.
3:15, you said, right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, next item is resolution to authorize Vanderwater for a tax certiorari. No one likes it.
Hate them.
Hate them. See, when you got big bucks, you can fight this stuff.
That's right, that's
That's
sad,
right.
that's really sad.
Any questions? Resolution? No. Okay. All right, next up is a resolution to approve the GPS agreement with the Town of Fishkill PBA. About 2 years ago, we put GPA systems in all the patrol cars for officer safety, and the PBA wants to make sure that we're not going to use it as punishment, and there's some verbiage in there that we're not going to specifically look at them. If they do something, then we can use it. If they don't do anything, we can't use it against them. That's the gist of it. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. What's up here next? Discussion of resolution continuing the Town of Fishkill Cat Spay-Neuter Program and approving a contract for the operation of the Cat Spay-Neuter Program for 2023. John and Louise are in on this. What are your, any thoughts? Was there a change or anything?
Supervisor, did you mind if we just have Ann, like, update us?
Oh, Ann?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah,
If you want to speak.
just to give us a difference of last year to this year, and thank you to Mr. Gaba for working with her to get it all put together.
It's a pleasure working with Ann.
Oh, okay.
Hi. Did you have any questions, or?
Just, can you just explain to the people the difference between last year and this year, what the fee will be and?
So, the town increased from 500 to 1,000, which is great. But last year, we had a matching funding from an organization in Orange County, and that was kind of a professional courtesy to Stray Health. They donated that money, or put it in towards the contract for funding of those services. So, in order to increase the number of people that we could help, or the town could help, rather than keeping the voucher cost at $25, residents will come in, purchase a voucher from the clerk's office for $37.50. The town will then put in $12.50 to match that $50 fee for services that Tara, will bill you for, and we can cover, instead of 40 cats, that will cover 80 cats. Last year, those 40 vouchers sold in, 3 months?
Yeah, it was
If that.
really quick.
That was coming back,
And
yeah.
we already
Yeah.
have people calling. We have our first, or second, actually, spay-neuter event is on February 16th, and we're already getting calls from residents. And just to kind of share a story of really, it's a shining example of what this program will do and will prevent. So we had a woman come to our clinic last year. She said that she was able to get 2 certificates. She had kittens underneath her deck, 1 male, 1 female, and that this program allowed her the means to get those cats spayed and neutered, and that is preventing a catastrophe. When that doesn't happen, in fact, I have to go and check my traps because, there's a new colony right here in Fishkill, and unbeknownst, really, I think it is a matter of education. We've already caught 12 cats at this location, and there are another 4 cats. That would have been an absolute disaster. So,
Can you hear?
things that we will avoid.
It was off? Oh, geez.
Oh, thank God. 3750.
We heard you.
So are there any questions or anything?
Excellent job.
And also, Carmine assisted you one day when he came out in the field, right?
Oh, a couple times
Yeah.
you've been out.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're a cat guy,
Yeah,
huh?
absolutely. Yep,
Yeah.
and
You know
there's
the cats.
4 more cats at that location that we
So
just
you guys don't
discovered.
realize that doing snow removal and landscaping.
Of course.
I'm on the HOAs, a lot of these homeowner associations,
Yeah.
where I saw these houses, and I was curious, like, what is that? And I saw cats coming, I'm like, didn't realize it was the same
Yeah.
program. And I saw how they took care of the animals, and I've always noticed it. Chelsea Ridge, Montclair, Park, Village Park, and you name them, there's, colonies of cats, and I was just curious, so I was educated.
It does work. It's, we've met managers of some of the complexes that are very resistant. They think, TNR, which is trap, neuter, return, it is not effective and you can't feed the cats, and that's a complete misconception. When you properly manage these animals, they are free rodent control. So they're healthy, they're fed, they're monitored, but this program not only is helping people who are helping community cats, but also residents that have their own cats. People are hurting, and this is really a great opportunity for them to care for their pet and not break the bank at the same time, so.
When is it going to run? What's the period? Just until they run out, I guess.
Until they run out,
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe 3 months. No,
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
And after tonight, they can apply with Becky? After the
Yep,
resolution
so
is
they
approved?
can just go to town hall, come here, go to the clerk's office, purchase.
Certificates first.
Yep. Oh, you need the certificates, yes.
I don't have anything.
I will
For
make
this
sure
year.
to get those to you.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
we'll have them before our clinic on the 16th. Like, I will, if I have to drive out there myself and get them, I will get them.
And any luck with Wappingers, Beacon, any of those?
We are waiting anxiously to meet with them and really
Yeah.
kind of fine
Maybe
tune.
look into the village, too, of Wappingers and the town of Wappingers, because I see colonies all over that.
It's all over the place. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
The town of Wappingers, we did go, we made a presentation. It was amazingly well-received. They were actually interested in potentially looking at legislation, to really properly manage this. I mean, to ignore the problem is not a good plan. This is something that we are in crisis mode. There are rescues now that are pulling cats from the south, which is mind-boggling to me because there's no room. The shelters are full, and they're bringing animals in, which is also bringing disease, different variants of diseases. That is our stand at Stray Help, that we do not bring more animals into this area because we're not properly caring for the animals that we already have here, so.
Thank you, Ann.
yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, discussion of a resolution for Recreation Department Summer Day Camp. Any questions on that? Something similar, Recreation, number 11, basketball program. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Number 12, discussion of sponsorship. This one we need to discuss. Discussion of sponsorship of Recreation Department activities and brochures. So let me follow up on that one. Give me a second. I think they want us to allow, Mr. Gabb, did you review any of that?
Yeah, the law says that you can accept donations, dedications, it's called.
Okay.
Of uniforms, of materials, of what have you, which bears the name of whoever it is who dedicated it. So if somebody wants to donate your uniforms that say, Sam's Brickyard on it, the town is free to use those if it's so inclined. I've warned against accepting donations with anything other than commercial designations on them, because once you get into political statements or religious statements or what have you, you're really opening a can of worms. But as long as it's purely commercial, I have no problem at all with the town undertaking that. There is an issue regarding brochures. To be perfectly honest, I'm not certain exactly what's being asked on that, but if it's just a matter of accepting dedication of uniforms, simple resolution will get it.
Maybe when they do their brochure saying the 12-year-old league is sponsored by Jim Chevy or something like that.
Well, where do they want the brochures? Do they want them on the town website? Do they want them just people to pick up? I mean, I'm not sure.
Does it matter?
Well, once you start doing it for one, you could really wind up with, you're not supposed to advertise commercially on your website.
Right.
So
So
it's really-
website's dead?
Well, if
brochure-
they want to just place them in the rec center, I don't see a problem with that.
So the
but
rec center
again,
can't put it on their website either?
No. You don't want to commercially advertise on a government website.
Just the uniforms, they can do that?
Just the uniforms they can do.
They can just do the
Supervisor,
uniform.
maybe we can start with local businesses first, town businesses. Yeah.
Can you,
I'll reach out
can you
to Jay.
call Jay
Yeah.
and tell him what's up?
Yep.
So, no, we can't hang up banners or nothing like that? Just-
There's regulations regarding, it always comes up with Little League fields,
Yes.
or baseball fields, where local sponsors want to put up signs on the outfield walls or on the backstop or what have you. And the rule, or at least the last time I looked, was that if somebody is donating things to the town for the Little League field, fence erected by Joe's Fencing Company, or baseballs provided by Sally's Printing, or whatever it is, you can do that. What you can't do is say, we will allow you to put your sign on the outfield wall in return for a payment of X dollars. You can't make it commercial, well, Dutchess Stadium's.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's what you're
So there's a fine line there between what you can do in terms of, we're going to allow commercial banners, signs, what have you, on municipal property.
What about if the company themselves are sponsoring one of the Little Leagues? It's just a banner for theirs out in the field. I've seen that in
That would be
other
fine,
places.
as long as you aren't saying we're going to do it in return for $250 a
No,
year.
so they've donated the,
Uniforms, I think.
whatever, uniforms, so they're allowed to have it. I know it's been an argument back and forth for years. I don't see a problem with it.
No.
We've been to other fields, so as long as you say it's okay.
As long as it's not a commercial transaction, it's recognition of a donation. That would be all right.
Recognition of a donation. Got it. All right.
Thanks.
So Louise, handle Mr. Mayetta, please.
Okay.
Next up is privilege of the floor for, next meeting. We should, we'll make up a resolution to get that done next time,
Thank you.
I hope. All right. Anybody want to speak?
Where are we up to?
We're up to
Privilege.
privilege of the floor for agenda. What items for agenda? I'm not a resolution.
Yeah, I looked into a couple of things I'm going to get back to you on.
All right. Next up is, there's no consent agenda. Let me rock and roll.
One of these we table it?
Number 12, we're going to do at the next meeting for discussion.
Yeah.
Why does he not want to do it? Is he interested or not?
Interested in what?
Is Fred not interested?
What are you talking about?
You said we're tabling number 12?
Was there wording in
No,
a
she-
contract
she
for
brought
the
it to next
police department?
Meeting, so
That-
that he could make a resolution for next meeting.
Oh, no resolution.
Yeah.
I got you.
Isn't that right? There's a wording in a contract for one of the police contracts?
I thought he was talking about number 12, which is, I think, the reappointment of Mr. Cantor.
Yeah, number 12 is resolution for reappointment of Board of Assessment Review member Fred Cantor.
I don't see that.
No, it's not.
Where's that?
It's in for discussion. We can talk about it at discussion.
It's okay.
No, that's,
I don't have it in mine.
that's for the resolutions.
All right, so
Oh, number-
listen, we
that's
can always talk on
number
the
12
resolution.
Right,
Oh.
right.
Yeah,
Got it.
I thought we were talking about resolutions.
yeah. All
No,
right.
we were on discussion.
Ah, sorry.
Oh,
All right, the
okay,
first,
number 12.
all right, ready for resolution, guys?
Yes.
All right, the first one is resolution to approve police department contracts for 2023. These are routine every year. The chief has his list here. Nycomco, Verizon, Cablevision, Central Square, Biometrics, Lexipol, Enom Central, North Shore, Dell Computers, All Traffic Solutions. Now therefore be resolved, the town board of the town of Fishkill hereby approves the police department's contractual agreements for the year 2023. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up is resolution to approve GPS agreement with the Fishkill PBA. Whereas the town board desires to execute a supplemental memorandum of agreement between the town of Fishkill and the town of Fishkill PBA to resolve an improper practice charge U-38199 filed with the Public Employees Relation Board, and whereas the limitations on the use of GPS is such that the GPS surveillance will not be the sole basis for discipline unless the conduct constitute a crime, and whereas there must be corroborating evidence such that there is no individual surveilling the GPS at all times, waiting to catch someone doing something without any basis or foundation, and whereas where there are also procedures built in for the viewing of the video for the member, and now therefore it be resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a supplemental memorandum agreement between the town of Fishkill and the town of Fishkill PBA to resolve the charge filed with the Public Relation Board and as presented to the town board at this meeting, and be it further resolved, this resolution shall be effective immediately. Present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Chief, you told me that the only place that monitors the GPS is the dispatch area, correct?
It's up permanently in dispatch so they can see where the officers are to make sure they're safe.
And that's it?
That's it.
Thank you. Number 3,
Just want to ask questions.
did you have a question?
I have, numerous questions.
On number 3?
Yeah.
All right.
Chief, do you mind if you, answering a couple of questions, because I emailed them and I just want to clarify them, and I have a couple of questions for the board as well. So I'll start out by saying I do not disagree that our part-time command staff should make more money. However, they have been unable to make more because of the restrictions from the law regarding retiree earnings. It's not that we didn't want to give them more. So I'm just wondering, why wasn't this request made at budget time? That was the first one.
It was put into the budget, it was cut out of the budget before it came to the town board.
Okay, so the next part is when, like, so you're saying, so it was asked for, not received with the first budget that the supervisor presented to us?
Correct.
And then, so we all worked diligently to, like, modify that budget. So I'm just wondering why that wasn't asked for then, because I would have preferred that we try and work that in when we actually change the budget.
Why didn't I present it to the town board?
Right.
Well, because the process is I meet with the supervisor and the comptroller presented at that point. It's then the supervisor's decision what happens to it from then on. If he feels that it shouldn't be presented to the town board, he won't present it. It's not my, I don't feel it's my place to come to the town board and surpass the supervisor to say he wasn't comfortable with this, or he made a decision, to not accept this as part of the budget, to try and sell the rest of the town board on it.
Well, from my perspective, this should have been when we did our budget review. That would have been the time to do this. So the request that you then gave forth to the board was at the end of December. So that's my concern. We already have our budget put in place, and now we're adding to that, which is not one of my favorite things to do.
The difficulty with this is that they're limited to $35,000 unless they pass a certain age.
I have a whole bunch of
the state.
Can I just finish?
Well, the state didn't permanently raise the $35,000 cap. There's a provision for COVID for another couple of months. And my position was, if the state made it permanent, whatever the number was, then I'd bring it back to the board. That was my position.
I think I read that in the email. Okay. So, Chief, you asked for a salary to be increased for the lieutenants from 35 to 50, and for yourself from 35 to 60. So I'm wondering, at the last meeting, why the board said that they would give $10,000 to the lieutenants this year, $10,000 to the lieutenants next year, $12,500 to the chief this year, and $12,500 next year. That's an additional $5,000 more than you actually asked for. Do you know if there's any reason for that?
No.
So you're saying we're $5,000 over on one?
Well, his request was for $50,000 for lieutenants and $60,000 for himself. So if we give 10 and 10 to the $35,000 lieutenants now, that'll be $55,000 at the end of next year, and his would be $65,000 at the end of next year instead of $60,000. I just didn't know how
we're
it
doing
got that
only
much.
1 year at a time instead of doing it all at once. So we're going to do 10,000 and 12,500 this year. Next year, we want to do that, but that still has to be negotiated for the following year.
I'm just saying it doesn't equal 50 and 60. That was my point.
25 and 35 is 60,000.
The 10 and 10 for lieutenants, so 35, 45, 55. If I'm adding wrong, let me know. I have no, I'm not good with math.
35
To 45 this year.
Correct.
And then next year, when you give them another 10, then that would be 55 instead of the 50 that you asked for. Yeah, so I was just wondering I wasn't here last meeting, so I didn't know if I missed something in the discussion or not. Neither here nor there, I just didn't know. As far as where does the board plan on getting the money for this? So I'm just wondering, where do you plan on getting the $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $42,500?
I think that's coming out of the police budget.
So the police budget, I actually spoke to Sharon about it, and she said that there's money in there for, maybe you would know, Chief, so there's money in there for police training, there's money in there for an accreditation officer, a traffic cop, a replacement cop for the school, so which are you willing to take money out to do this? I'm talking, and I'm not talking, not that I don't want to give it to them, but again, for myself, it's fiscal. It's like fiscal responsibility, so where is it coming from to give it to them?
If he's going to do the accreditation without an accreditation officer, we'll just take it from there.
So that's one part of it, okay. The Senate bill proposed to raise the limit to $65,000. I agree with the supervisor. I didn't think that should be part of the discussion at this point. It was only in phase 1 of the bill process, and if we plan on giving, we're going to give them more money because of the governor's executive order of COVID, which extends the $35,000 limit and has recently been approved monthly. So my question to you, Chief, is why now? So that's been in effect from March 2020. I'm just curious as to why you didn't ask for more, money for yourselves from 2020 to now.
I think that's certainly plausible, and if the town board wanted to make that retroactive.
No.
I actually asked Sharon if that was possible, and she said no, that you couldn't, because I did actually ask her that, because I didn't, you could have asked her it then, we could have looked into it, so I'm just curious as to what this was.
When the New York on pause came out, we really had no idea it was going to extend this long. I think everybody's surprised by that. But
Right.
Especially now with the new Kraken variant, I don't think anybody knows when COVID is going to end.
Yeah.
And there's no time limit right now on New York on pause, so our perspective is if we can receive a pay increase to compensate us properly for our efforts, then we would like the town board to recognize and appreciate that.
Oh, I absolutely recognize and appreciate it. Like I said, myself is just fiscal, so like the word that Carmine likes when I say in perpetuity, Carmine. So this year, if we find the money somewhere in the budget that we're taking it out from something that he might not need, then next year when we do the budget, we will need to find $85,000 more for the increases. So I'm just wondering if you guys have any idea where that money would be coming from.
Well, I'd leave that to the chief to figure that out. You're in charge of your department. How can we make this work fiscally?
I've spoken with the comptroller on this. We've had many conversations about it. The money's in the budget right now to be able to do that. There's, we have a little bit of buffer to allow us to not have to come to the town board and ask for more money during the year. And that benefits us, it benefits the town board, it benefits the residents. Part of it is fiscal responsibility. We're very good with keeping our overtime down. The officers are very good at managing their time. The supervisors are good at managing the overtime. So that allows us to have that buffer kind of, to constantly have that buffer for things like this and for unforeseen circumstances like COVID, which was, really changed the perspective of what our budget should look like. And something like that's long-term that occurs that we had no idea was going to happen. And we were prepared to handle that without having to come to the town board. Says a lot about, I think, how we budget and manage our fiscal responsibility for the town.
Okay, well, I was just looking at that. That answers it. Just this one's just confusing to me. So the executive order is in effect now. If we have the resolution, we're backdating it to January 1st. Let's say the executive order expires like in June. Is this going to continue on for the lieutenants who are 65 and older, or will it stop for everybody and you'd all go back to 35? So I'm asking, will the older lieutenants still make the 45 or 55 next year, or are you continuing it all on the same scale?
They will continue to receive the salary compensation. And
Yeah.
the officers who are limited from the earnings salary cap will not, but we understand that.
Yeah, I know, it's unfortunate, that's why I didn't understand, yeah, that's unfortunate, because it would be you and the younger lieutenant.
Yeah, just on this resolution, we're doing the 10,000 and a 12.5.
Right, no, I'm just talking about, like, if it didn't carry through next year, then the older lieutenants actually have the right to have more, because they're 65 and older, where the other people who don't, they can't. So that's it. I'm willing to say yes, as long as we can find the money in next year's budget without increasing taxes, which sounds like you have a plan to do that, so I'm good.
Do we have an age limit to work here?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've looked into that. It's somewhere in the area of 78, but there's other factors involved. So, I would really have to get to that point if that becomes an issue to look at it deeper, but that's the approximate.
78.
For part-time, non-competitive employees.
But is there an age limit for a full-time police officer?
There is.
Do you know what that is?
68, I believe.
Jeez,
State
okay.
police is 60.
That's high, too.
Yeah, they kick you out at 60.
They kick you out in the state police at 60?
Yes.
I think Vermont kicks you out at 45.
Yeah. Really?
I think Vermont State Police,
45 years old?
you can't be a cop. I know it's not, I think it's,
Oh, that's. kind
yeah,
of ageist.
45 or 50, that's it, you're
Okay.
done. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. Now therefore be resolved by the town board as follows, all whereas above paragraphs incorporated herein as reference. Number 2, the town board hereby approves and authorizes a wage increase of salary for all lieutenants to $45,000 a year, and a wage increase to chief to $47,500, effective retroactively to January 1st. The town supervisor as designated shall take in effect all actions necessary to carry the provisions of this resolution. 4, the resolution shall be effective immediately. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Number 4, okay. Up next is a resolution approving a settlement of a lawsuit against the town, ID number 8420, whereas a lawsuit was commenced by Scott Bierce against the Town of Fishkill and others in the U.S. District Court Southern District under index number 20-CV-00320, and whereas the town's insurance carrier and Bierce have negotiated a proposed written settlement agreement under which said lawsuit will settle and discontinued, and whereas the proposed written settlement agreement has been submitted to the town board for approval, now therefore it be resolved as follows. The town board approves the settlement agreement, and 2, that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the proposed settlement agreement and any documents necessary to carry out the terms thereof. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Can I just make a?
Of course.
For myself, I disagree with the settlement agreement wording, as it is, in my opinion, it is only partially accurate, so that's it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anybody other board members? All right, I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, roll call vote?
Councilmember Rye?
Yes.
Councilmember Foreman?
Yes.
Councilmember Istvan?
Yes.
Councilmember Daniele?
Nay.
Supervisor Albro?
Yes. Okay, I mentioned earlier I was going to speak about this. This case has caused a lot of friction between myself and the police department, some members of the police department. And since this is over, as I mentioned to a PBA leader a couple of weeks ago outside after a town board meeting, we had a good discussion that I want to move forward and leave this behind. But in order to go forward, you're going to have to learn what happened in the past. Tonight, the town board voted to settle a lawsuit brought by a former Town of Fishkill police officer. I thank the board for bringing this matter to a conclusion. The era of Town of Fishkill police officers having their civil rights violated over politics is over today. For more than a decade, police officers have had their civil rights violated by town officials on multiple occasions. For those who aren't familiar with this history, let me explain. A police officer who was involved in a political primary had his First Amendment rights violated, which resulted in a 6-digit settlement. The town's original chief of police for over 40 years was falsely accused. What?
I'm sorry, but it just feels like wording you should not be using, given the understanding of this agreement.
Thank you very
I think you are indicting the town and the police department.
No, I'm not.
With those words. I think you're way out of line with those words. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm not.
I'd like to ask our town attorney if the supervisor should go on speaking what he's speaking about.
Well, the matter's not in litigation anymore, I'm afraid, John. If he wants to speak on it, he can speak on it. I don't know what he's going to say, so I can't say whether it's appropriate or not. As long as it's not a matter that's in litigation,
Exactly.
excuse his judgment.
All right, let me start again. Let me start on that again. Tonight, the town board voted to settle a lawsuit brought by a former Town of Fishkill police officer. I thank the board for bringing this matter to a conclusion. The era of Town of Fishkill police officers having their civil rights violated over politics is over today. For more than a decade, police officers have had their civil rights violated by town officials on multiple occasions. For those that aren't familiar with this history, let me explain. A police officer who was involved in a political primary had his First Amendment rights violated, which resulted in a 6-figure settlement. The town's original chief, who served for over 40 years, was falsely accused of misconduct and a reason to out him for political reasons. Multiple police officers have been involved in local politics, have been demoted, including 2 detectives who were demoted to patrolmen, only to be reinstated by detective by the state. And just tonight, we settled another case where a police officer claimed his civil rights were violated. Let me go into this in a little detail. This case also dealt with politics. After an incumbent lost, this officer began to be harassed in the police department, forcing him to retire early out of stress. After the town board accepted his resignation, which means his resignation was in good standing, and he left in good standing, he was then decertified as a police officer. Imagine if you were to lose your professional certification over a matter of politics. Over the past 3 years, I fought to protect this officer's civil rights and worked diligently to have him recertified as a police officer. But I was thwarted every step by politics. The town's inability to rectify the situation resulted in another 6-figure settlement. Throughout this era, your town supervisor backed the blue during these hard times. In fact, I am the only one who's proven to back the blue during this era. I'm the only one who has attended board meetings for years before becoming supervisor. I am unaware of anyone else being so engaged in supporting the Town of Fishkill Police Department. So for 10 years, I've been sitting on that side of the aisle there, and I've seen this stuff happen. I've never seen anybody besides myself protecting these officers. For those that aren't aware, I'm a retired police officer from the Town of Bedford Police Department, and all my time as a police officer, I never had to fear retribution or repercussions for voicing my opinions about politics, sports, or any topic. No police officer should ever have to fear these things. As town supervisor, I'm sworn to protect our residents and our town employees. A lot of people like to use the phrase supporting the police, and that's good. But that means supporting each individual officer and their civil rights, whether you agree with them or not. You can't support the police without standing by a line officer. You can't support the police but tolerate a cop having their civil rights violated. That's my statement, and like I said, I could have got a little more elaborate, but making claims of who backs the blue, I've proven to back the blue time after time. So we'll go on to the next resolution.
Back to work.
Back to work. A resolution to approve highway contracts for security, radios, welding, and pest control. Whereas Glenn Schofield, Highway Superintendent, has submitted approval for listing the Town of Fishkill Highway Department service contracts for the year 2023, and whereas there are Goose Town radios, $1,700, CryoWeld, $591 a year, Failsafe, $240, Orkin, $150. Now, there be further resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby approves the Highway Department's service contracts for the year 2023. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, number 6. Resolution to authorize Van and Vanderwater to enter income tax cert. Whereas the tax certiorari proceedings have been filed against the Town of Fishkill by HPTCY Corporation in regard to the assessments on upon certain property located in the Town of Fishkill and designated as Section 6255, Block 00, Lot 55420, whereas it is desired to settle the 2021 and 2021 proceedings, now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill authorizes Kyle W. Barnett of the law firm Vanderwater and Vanderwater to negotiate the settlement between 2021 and 2022. The assessed value will be in accordance with the attached proposed consent agreement as follows. Assessment 2021 from $11 million to $9.9 million for 2021. For 2022, $11 million at the same number, 9.9. And Kyle Barnett, Esquire, is authorized to sign such documents as necessary to effectuate the agreement. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Unfortunately, yes.
I know. Next one is the cat spay. Now therefore be resolved, the town board hereby, and that continues with the town-wide cat spay neuter program as set terms in Schedule A, and the town board hereby funds the town cat spay program to the extent of $1,000 plus funds generated by the payments and received funds from the public for the spay neutering rates at $37.50 per cat. The funds were provided for the town-wide cat spay neuter program shall be expended as follows. In order to obtain spay neuter cat services, residents shall purchase a certificate from the town clerk for $37.50 for each cat. which is spayed and neutered. Upon redemption of such certificates, the town clerk shall provide the balance of $12.50 to pay Tara the outstanding balance of $50 per cat. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Resolution to authorize option to renew license agreement with Lynette Mora. She owns the property across from the highway department, and basically what we do is we use the site and we don't charge her taxes. So whereas the Town of Fishkill has entered an agreement with Lynette Mora, whereas paragraph 4 of the agreement allows the option to renew, whereas resolution 2015-159 authorized the renewal, which expires September 4, 2016, and whereas the parties agreed to exercise the option to renew for an additional one-year term, commencing on January 1st and expiring on December 31st, 2023, at a license fee not to exceed $2,400, whereas the other items and conditions of the agreement remains in full force and effect. Now therefore it be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill authorizes the supervisor to execute the renewal option of the revocable license agreement as attached. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one is to waive the 30-day hold on a liquor license at Courtyard. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby waives the right to require a 30-day hold upon Courtyard in Fishkill. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Next up is the summer rec day camp fees. Now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby adopts the proposed Recreation Department summer day camp program fees and attached, and that these fees shall take effect immediately, and be it further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to amend the Town of Fishkill fee schedule to include Recreation Department program fees. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
Next one up is the basketball. Now therefore be resolved by the Town Board as follows. All whereas paragraphs and incorporations herein are referenced set forth in full. The Town Board hereby amends the town fee schedule for Recreation Department men's basketball. Number 3, the supervisor or his designee shall be directed to take any actions necessary to carry out the provisions. This resolution shall be effective immediately. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, a resolution to reappoint Mr. Fred Cantor to the Board of Assessment Review, whereas Fred Cantor has been a member of the Board of Assessment since April 4, 2018, and whereas Fred Cantor's most recent term expired September 30th, 2022, and whereas Fred Cantor wishes to continue his service as a member of the Board of Assessment Review, now therefore be resolved, the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill hereby reappoints Fred Cantor to the Board of Assessment Review with a term expiring September 30, 2027. I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
I have a question about the
Sure.
next one. Number 13? Are you up to 13?
Okay, I won't do the vote, but I'll read it.
Okay.
Resolution to approve the American Recovery Plan, ARPA funding for the construction of the highway garage for vehicles, Resolution ID 8450, whereas the Town of Fishkill is the recipient of the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, funds is non-entitled unit of local government and non-entitlement unit of local government, and whereas the construction of the new highway vehicle garage is eligible for the expense under the final rule issued by the U.S. Department of Treasury, and now therefore be resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill does hereby authorize the use of $185,000 of ARPA money for funding of the construction of the highway vehicle garage. Councilwoman, would you like to say something?
Yes, I think those who planned this should have done a better job of figuring out the cost, because I don't want to use the ARPA money for it.
Okay. Anybody else any questions? So what happened in about 2020, we were 3 years, this was on the plans before COVID hit, and the original price was going to be about $300,000. After everything went up, it's about another $185,000. So we're going to get this highway garage done for about $485,000 by basically general contracting it ourselves with a lot of help from Carmine and the project managers. So in order to build a building like this from scratch, by putting out the bid, would be well over $1 million. You agree, Carmine?
Yeah, we saved quite a bit of money.
We're going to save at least $500,000 by doing it this way. Anybody have any other questions? I'll present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I abstain.
One abstain? Okay.
Who seconded that? I missed it. I apologize.
Brian, you
Brian?
seconded?
Thank you.
I thought I seconded.
I have a question about this one, too.
Okay. Resolution establishing the James F. Brown Memorial Park, ID 8451, whereas the Town Board of the Town of Fishkill has determined that there is a need for a new municipal park within the town, and whereas the Town Board believes that the utilizing the town-owned property, parcel number 133-089-55-04-8524-59-0000, located at 25 Robert Casson Way, where the town recently demolished an abandoned water storage tank located on the 9D corridor, an appropriate location for such purpose, and whereas the proposed action constitutes a type 2 action under SECRA, and whereas James Brown, an escaped slave from Maryland, was a master gardener for the Verplank family at the Mount Green property off of 9D corridor, who worked to pay off his servitude and became a landowner in Fishkill and became a distinguished member of the community, for which work he was noted in his time but largely forgotten by history, and whereas James Brown does not receive the recognition today that he deserves for his tremendous accomplishments and contributions to the Fishkill community, and whereas the town board of the town of Fishkill desires to establish town-owned parcel that I mentioned into the James F. Brown Memorial Park to honor the memory of the escaped slave and master gardener James Brown and provide additional recreation space for town residents. Now therefore be
I
resolved.
just have a question. So can I ask my question?
Let me finish with the resolution. Please.
Oh, I thought you, once you did
Yeah,
that.
I got to read
Okay.
it. Now therefore be resolved the town board as follows. All whereas paragraphs incorporated herein are reference set forth in full. Section 2, the town board of the town of Fishkill hereby establishes a town-owned parcel number located at 25 Robert Casson Way as a town park and names it James F. Brown Memorial Park. Section 3, the town supervisor as designee be and hereby directed to take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of this resolution. Section 4, the resolution shall be effective immediately. Councilwoman Daniele, you had a question?
Yes, it's for Councilmember Foreman and Rye. I just want to know what you guys, can you see me, Brian, or hear me?
Yes.
What you guys both thought of that location when you went to visit it?
Fine with me.
Yeah.
Okay. For myself, I think it's really small, and I don't think it's a good location. It's a road that goes through a nursing home parking lot, and I prefer that we finish upgrading our current parks before we create a new one. Not that I don't think that Mr. Brown's story is a worthy one, and that should be recognized, but for myself, I think we should wait until we finish some other parks first.
Can I just say something? Because I agree with that. I was concerned, like, we're creating another one and we're appropriating money, but the idea is to create it, we don't have to start spending money for a
Correct.
long time.
Yep.
It's just going to be designated, which is fine with me, because of what you said. The monies need to be elsewhere.
But not even the monies, like, the space itself, I just don't see it.
It's a
I would like
full
to
acre
see
land.
it, but you'd have to cut down the trees, you'd have to do, so, I mean, I don't see it now, and the location itself, I just think is bad. So that's all I have to say.
So I just feel with, I agree with a lot of your statements. I think what we need to do is, we establish it as a park, then with free time from our Parks Department, maybe that's a winter project, maybe the highway can help, we can do a little bit of work when we have some downtime. Not saying we're going to have much downtime, but we could do some work on it. We can slowly build it, involve maybe the Verplank Garden Club, which they said they would participate. We can make it a nice, natural, native species gardens in the area. It could be a little pocket park for just sitting. We do have an acre there, so it could be used. So, but priority is, we have other parks that are in higher need
Correct.
of work. And remember what I said, anything that we establish as something new, we have to budget time, labor, materials to maintain it every year. So remember that.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get to this maybe for another 2-3 years. And that's how I had it. Okay. I present that as motion. Can I have a second? Second. Carmine. All in favor?
I abstain.
Okay. 4, 1 abstention. Items for special consideration. Okay, a resolution to accept the resignation of Michael Natrella.
Sir?
Did I got that wrong?
No, you don't have it wrong. It's just that there was discussion items created for
Okay.
those as well by Greg.
All right, so there's a discussion item on the resignation and the appointment of Greg back as confidential secretary. Anybody wish to discuss it?
I just have one question for Mr. Gaba. Greg is our legislative aide. Doesn't he have to retire from that position first before he takes this?
I didn't know he maintained the legislative aid position.
He's still a legislative aide.
Don't think that it creates a conflict. The conflict would be if he was somehow his own boss.
Well, he's not going to be the legislative aide no more.
Yeah, that's 10,000 a year we can take away.
That's 14,000.
14?
So,
Is he giving up the one
No.
position? Is he keeping both positions?
No, I was going to keep it the same.
no,
So
wait,
he's
no.
fulfilling 2 positions in the town?
No, so tell me if I'm wrong. The previous,
He made 65 grand a year.
yes. So your previous secretary made 50, and
Yeah, so when before Greg left, he was making 65,000. The new guy came in, he was making 50, and then we made Greg the 8 for 15. So we're going to go back to Greg doing both things for 65. That's, if you want me to give him a letter of resignation for the liaison, we can do that. That's not a
so he's
problem.
not so he won't, in the capacity, he won't be the legislative aide to the town board anymore.
I don't see why you just don't leave it the way it is. I don't know. Greg was making 65,000 a year. He left.
I understand, and if he keeps both positions, I don't see why he wouldn't get both salaries. The only possible issue is if there was a conflict between the two.
He is getting both salaries.
Which there is. And can I
Okay,
just
that's
make a
fine.
point as legislative aide? Yeah, I mean, he, I guess, did a couple of things, but really, he was planted in your office and doing your
That is true. He did a lot of work for myself.
No, he did a lot.
Yeah, he did a lot of work
So
for
let-
myself
so-
also.
So I suggest that he resign from legislative aide to the town board and accept the,
So you want to amend this resolution that he has to resign as legislative aide?
I don't know.
So I just
Yeah,
have a
just make it
suggestion,
conditional.
Supervisor. There are other people in this town, since I've been on the board, that have gotten stipends for certain things. So I don't see a reason why he can't get a stipend for, he does more than work for you. And I mean, I think he's worked for you with the sword background,
It took him 5 minutes.
whatever it is, so I mean, utilize him more. Feel free to utilize him as much
Let's
as you can.
just bring him
Yeah.
back to his 65 grand and have him resign.
Whatever,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's just end it.
But I just want to be, is he able to still help all of us?
Well, and
if
then-
there's
Of course he
questions?
can.
I've always had him help you
Yeah,
guys.
okay, that's
It's not
what
gonna
I'm
stop.
just saying. So he's there if you do need him.
Yes, so,
I just don't want to have the two titles, he's legislative aide and the confidential secretary to supervisor.
All right.
We need to eliminate the legislative aide position.
all right, so let me,
We'll just remove him from it.
all right, so I want to make a motion to amend the resolution
Sorry.
to include that he needs to resign as the legislative aide prior to this being in effect. Is that okay, Mr. Galvin?
Yeah, or conditional upon him.
Conditional.
saying as, whichever you
Conditional.
prefer. It's all the same.
Conditional upon
I second that.
resignation. I got to read it first. Oh, yes. Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Can I talk about something?
The same thing?
Yeah.
Go on.
I just think procedurally, I really didn't like having the resignation and the reappointment of Greg on the same resolution. It's just a little, there's 2 different instances, there should be 2 different resolutions. That's it.
Is it okay that we do it that way, Mr. Galba?
You can roll them into one, it's just you usually don't do it that way.
Okay.
You usually have the
I'm okay with
resignations
it.
set.
Now therefore be resolved, the town board as follows, in section 1, whereas paragraphs incorporated, town board hereby accepts the resignation of Michael Trella from the position of confidential secretary effective February 1st, and further appoints Gregory Tatino to the position of confidential secretary effective February 1st at an annual salary of $64,425. The town supervisor designee hereby directed to take any all actions to carry out the provisions as we amended, conditional upon resignation of what is he again? Legislative aid.
Legislative aid.
Of legislative aid. This resolution shall be effective immediately. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Louise, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. Next up is discussion of resolution to amend the peddling permit requirements. The town board has received a memorandum from the building inspector informing the board that recent updates to the New York State Uniform Fire Code require all mobile food preparation vehicles to have operating permit issued after the inspection by the building inspector or fire inspector. The town board will discuss the resolution to amend the peddling soliciting permit application process for food trucks to include the new permitting requirement as specified as attached. Any questions?
No.
So now there's just an extra requirement for food trucks by the fire inspector. That's the gist of it. So that when,
Who will be notified? The people know that they know already that they need?
Becky?
Yes, I can speak to that.
Thank you.
This just went into effect January 1st. Joel, Steve, myself, and Cooper have been working on how to get the word out and the language and the
Yep.
application and the whole bit. And the folks that I know who always come here
Right.
and are going to need to do this, Cooper finalized the new application today, and I sent those people all the information already.
Sounds good.
So they have it as of today, because it was finalized today.
Good, thanks.
Yep, and there's a fee for it, and that's going to have to be put into the fee schedule and the whole, right.
Okay. All whereas paragraphs incorporated hearing is referenced set forth in full, the town board hereby adopts amends the Town of Fishkill Peddling Solicited Permit application requirements to include the state inspection requirements for mobile food preparation vehicles as attached, and further directs the town clerk and building inspector to prepare any necessary forms to include inspection requirements. The town supervisor is designee, being hereby directed to take any and all actions necessary to carry out the provisions of this resolution. Section 4 of this resolution shall be effective immediately. I present that as a motion. Can I have a second?
Second.
Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Carmine, that was Carmine.
New and old business? Louise?
Old business, the hometown banner program is coming along very nicely. We have just a few spots left, so if anyone else is still interested in getting an application, they can reach out to myself or to Greg, and I'll give you the next steps for the instructions. And Carmine's helping me to get the brackets, so hopefully by the time everything is made, our goal is to hopefully have it by Memorial Day, so. We'll see.
Memorial Day.
We're hoping, we'll see.
Having them up?
Well, we'll see how that goes out. I gotta reach out to Carmine and figure it out.
Wow, that's good. Carmen, you got
That's
anything?
awesome.
Yes, I just think we had a couple residents here today give concerns about some projects. I think that we need to make sure that the residents that are engineers, inspectors, are watching over certain sites that are being built, especially high visibility, and all things are being built, because we got to make sure the residents' concerns are being answered. And I'm here as a council, I'm not here to be the building inspector or the engineer.
So you guys are okay with me to, if I have to ask CPL to go do some stuff?
Well, CPL should be doing periodic
Shouldn't
inspections.
they be doing it through the planning board as well? But we can't get, that's a separate issue?
Yeah, CPL should
CPL
be,
can inspect our sites while they're being worked on?
If they're, yes, if they're built under site plan, they should be doing it with the building inspector.
so my first question would be saying, CPL, have you been over to Heliande to look at that retaining wall?
You could start with the building inspector, then CPL if you need to.
All right, I already asked the building inspector to take a look at it. He said he's going to look at it, so if, yes, Ms. Anderson?
There's $15,000. It was a requirement for $15,000 for inspections for the engineer on that site, and I don't know if they've ever done that.
Okay. I did bring it attention to the building inspector, and if that's not satisfactory, I'll ask CPL to go up there. Is that okay, guys?
Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, if it's, the wall's higher than it should be, and the,
That's
The line on top
that's
is not-
CPL's responsibility.
Okay.
if that's not sloping properly, I mean, Bridget, do you happen to know on top, because you brought this to our attention, the earth on top is flat, you were saying, correct?
It's supposed to be curved.
And it's supposed to be slanted, is that correct?
On the drawing, it shows a difference of grade, I think it's,
Grade, yeah.
of difference between 10, it's supposed to slope up away from that retaining wall, back 10 feet, so that it rises 10 feet over that distance.
Okay.
It doesn't appear that it's doing that, but I can count blocks just as well as anybody else can, and that wall's too high.
How many blocks too high?
That wall appears to be 15 feet too high. I mean, they were putting a front loader in front of it, and it towered over that.
My concern is that, because you're the engineer, and other people should be doing.
I'm not the engineer on this project.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just understanding your background, and you've got a better brain for it than I do. If it's flat, Carmen, I mean, if it's not sloping, is water going to flow back towards the backyards? is what-
The problem is not that it's not done properly, it's not done to the specs that they presented in front of the planning board.
Understood.
Period.
Done.
Period.
That's
Yeah.
it.
It's got to be built to spec.
I'm just curious about that slope, as if it's going to cause flooding,
No.
people's property.
No.
Yeah.
No, but there was, I mean, anybody that drove down here knows they were blasting a lot of
Yep.
rock out of there. And I don't know if they did what they did because they wanted to not have to blast as much, if they had too much fill that they needed to get rid of. I'm not sure what the reason was, but if you sit in Joel's desk, you look out the window and you see what they're doing. And no one's doing anything about it. And this is happening project after project after project. And I'm tired of playing, I'm not the code enforcement officer for the town of Poughkeepsie, I'm the code enforcement officer for Dutchess Community College. And he has a responsibility to the town and the taxpayers to do his job and to make sure builders are building what they're allowed to build. Because what happens is, they're going and they're building what they want to build, and then they're coming back with their hat in their hand, just like they did in Comfort Suites with the hotel, and say, we're really sorry we built the hotel too big, so now what are you going to do about it? Well, they went and they got, their site plan amended, and, who lost? They certainly didn't lose. They got what they wanted, and that it appears, and I have not been on Healy's site. I don't want anybody to think I'm trespassing over there. That is not what it appears that they're doing over there. Tim DeLorme, who is here, is a landscape architect. He's looked at it with me, and we're both going, there's no way in hell that wall is 10 feet tall. And when you look at that cut sheet with the detail, it is literally backfilled up one block. So, you can let Healy do whatever he wants. I mean, I sat in here while he twisted everybody's arm to get what he wants. He got what he got, but the town has an obligation to the homeowners and the taxpayers to make sure he's building what he's supposed to. He shouldn't be parking cars up there. He shouldn't be having beneficial use of that area up there. There's supposed to be a fence. There's supposed to be everything else up there. I don't know that wall's been checked and inspected, and they've done special inspections. I would bet anything that the engineer hasn't been up there. They have no business parking cars up there. They could have, a failure of that wall. Those cars come tumbling down, and you know what? They're going to turn around to the town. And this is what I said to Nicole, and this is what I said to Ozzy. Somebody's going to turn around to the town and sue you guys because it's documented over and over and over again that inspections aren't going to be done. And you can miss something once. I go to the same classes as Joel. You can miss it once, you can miss it twice. But when it's in writing over and over and over again and you continue to ignore it, the town is then liable.
Yeah,
That's where you guys are right now.
I'm not ignoring this. I got this information last week, and I gave it to the building inspector, and he's going to get back to me on it. So I'm not ignoring it.
But the problem is, they're still working on it. They're putting that building up in front of it. The more they put that building up, the less likely they are to have to take that wall down because it's going to become virtually impossible to do that. So you're playing right into their hands by not issuing a stop work order when I told you about it the first time.
I only knew about this last week. Mr. Galvin, with something like this, we can make a stop work order if they're not in compliance?
The building inspector has power to issue a stop work order if there's ongoing work that's not in compliance with the plans.
Okay, and if it's not on the site plan, we can make them comply to the site plan?
Well, there's compliance with the site plan, and then there's, minor deviations from it. They're called field changes. So some little things can be done without the site plan being followed to the T if the building inspector, sometimes you go to the planning board to get those approved. But that aside, yeah, you can make them comply with the site plan, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I'll follow that tomorrow morning.
Well, I mean, and one of the things is pointed out, should cars be there now,
Yeah, I didn't think about that, so thank you.
Maybe they need to be removed immediately, because that's true. What if it comes tumbling down?
I wasn't thinking, I go by there every day, so she's right.
The building inspector would not let you live in a house that was half built. They should not be allowing them beneficial use of that property to park cars.
Cars too.
There's supposed to be a fence on that wall.
You should say that.
Yeah, if he's not letting somebody use a pool, he should be real concerned about a wall.
I'll do this tonight. I'll do this tonight. I'll work on this
I think
tonight.
that's a different topic, yeah. The
What's
wall.
that?
You just made a comment about the wall.
Yeah, I'll inform the building, when we're closed, I'll go back to my office and send him an email to tell him I want them to do this first thing in the morning. Any other
And how they
discussion?
bringing the cars in?
I
To
don't
get them
know.
up there?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
They got a little
Yeah,
path.
there's a little path up the back. If
All right.
When you drive by and look at it, you can see where they,
Off of 52.
I'll get those
off
answers
of
to you.
52, yeah.
And it's not supposed to be.
I mean,
questions?
how about Joel's
Just
stuff
52.
then,
Right.
I'm going to go to my office
can see
after this,
it's not
and
a
I'm
full
going to
blend.
get right on it.
Yeah, it's not.
All right, next town board meeting will be 14 days to 2:15, right here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you for everybody for coming. Any questions, you can call me, call the board members. All our emails are on the town website, if you want to get a hold of us that way. I'll make a motion to adjourn. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much, guys. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Bye-bye. I'm going to go to my office and do that now.